All right, let's blast off. Let's blast off, baby. We got a lot to talk about today. Okay, today. Yeah. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Where is my blast off tweet? I forgot the. Yes, I know. Andrew Tate x Trump collab. MAGA influencers get redacted Epstein files. Dude, if Brace was a real journalist, he would have presented himself as like a fucking MAGA influencer a little bit harder so he could actually get the goddamn Epstein files. You know what I mean? Streamers keep hitting the right-wing grift meta super hard. Ceasefire updates. You mean liberal Hitler? Who's liberal Hitler? Who calls himself liberal Hitler? First time posting a link, but I have to know if this is true. Look who Schumer picked to represent the joint Dems address. I know, man. I know. Dems are going on a post-New Deal Republican arc. Yeah. Florida AG starts preliminary inquiry into the Tate brothers after they landed. I just don't believe it. Like, I don't believe that they're gonna... I mean, Florida is the most Andrew Tate-coded place on the planet anyway, but... Anyway, whatever. There's just... Everything sucks, okay? Everything sucks. Everything is bad. Columbia University student protest. Why is Bad Empanada afraid of you? I missed him, Lord. No, I'm fucking joking, man. Bad Empanada is... I think Bad Empanada is too insane to be afraid of anyone. I think he's just like the most insane person out there. So I was just kidding when I said he's afraid of me. Okay, let's blast off and let's get it going. Yeah, he is the actual Max Left. He is the true Max Left. If there's a guy who is Max Left, it is him, not me. Okay, I'm a social democrat. I'm a centrist. I'm a centrist social democrat style guy. Okay, I'm a centrist New Deal Democrat. I'm a centrist Republican neocon. Okay, I'm just right wing. I'm actually reactionary. I'm full blown a MAGA Trump supporter. I actually have now officially outflanked MAGA. I think I would be the better deporter in chief. You should vote for me instead. That was quick. What do you mean? I'm just picking up the pace. I'm trying to be as Democratic Party adjacent as possible, chat. What are you talking about? No, they're saying that because of this. Hold on. Where the frick is it? Bad Empanada has been trolling and posting a bunch of stuff. When you dedicate 20 minutes of your podcast complaining about Bad Empanada Instagram stories, you might be just at the lowest point of your life. And then he posted this.
Hello, everyone. I'd just like to note to Ethan Klein that I personally control Hassan Piker. And you came at me, and in response, I personally told Hassan Piker what to do, and he does my bidding. He's like my little attack dog. He does whatever I want. I control him. You know, I'm the puppeteer behind the scenes. And you came after me. And now today, Hassan Piker is spending hours watching my videos on his stream, specifically to attack you. This is what's always going to happen to you, Ethan. If you dare to come after me, I will sick my attack dog, Hassan Piker, on you every time. How dare you, Ethan Klein? I control Hassan Piker.
It's true.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'd just like to note to Ethan Klein that I personally control Hassan Piker. And you came at me, and in response...
Stop watching? Yeah, oh, god damn it. The truth is out, dude. It's out. The truth is out. It's real. It's real. Bad Empanada. He Bad Empanada truth nuke. He leaked it. The real lore. Can you imagine if you knew anything about history, who would be the Janissary, okay? And who would be the Vizier? Who would be the Padishah and who would be the Janissary, okay? The Greek. This is an antiquated ethnic conflict. You understand? Turks have long utilized good non-Muslim soldiers from land that we have occupied. Wait, Bad Empanada is Greek? Yeah. He is, isn't he? He's like a Greek Australian, but also now lives in Argentina. Listen, it's epigenetic memories. It is predestined to be this way, okay? Greeks, this is how it's always been. Italian ex erasure. Pretty sure he moved to Russia now. You're insane if you think he's... Wait, what? Moved to Russia? There ain't no way this man is living in Russia, dude. He's... What the fuck? He's not like a Jackson Hinkle type of dude. Are you kidding me? The body keeps the score. What does that even... What does that mean? Yeah. I got fake news in front of 18,000 people. I was joking. I promise. Yeah, you got fake news. Fake news. You got fake news. All right. Where were we? It's a book about trauma. Oh, The Body Remembers Trauma. The Body Keeps the Scores, a book on trauma and epigenetic memory. Okay. All are nerds, man. Wikitubia says Bad Empanada is of Turkic, Greek, and Italian descent. Oh, he is? Oh, no. So we're a lot closer to one another. He just moved to one penal colony, and I moved to the other one. You know what I mean? Both. He's from one of the two indigenous genocide massacring settler colonial penal colonies. There's two of them out there that are pretty prominent, you know? Together we build AUKUS. Who were you talking to when you was pointing with that look on your face? I don't remember. But it was not Rod Blagojevich. Rod Blagojevich for Creator Clash versus Will. That's funny. Rod also has the same Ryan Grimm hairstyle. This is coming back in a big way, like that bucket style. When you got that bucket hair. Are you going to talk more about the plan to gut Medicaid? We don't have more information on how they're going to try and gut Medicaid at this moment. There's just a plan to gut it. That's all you need to know at this moment. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly how they're going to do that. Right now, they're just more so like, go back to the committees and figure out how to slam this. Brother, have you been invited back to the Piers Morgan show? Do you think you ever will again? Yeah, I get invited all the time. I just choose not to go on because I usually have some other shit going on. You know what I mean? The only, out of all of the shows that I've been invited on that I initially said no to, that I've now asked to go on, the only show I will say, the only person I will say that just came by to call you, wait, what? Oh, don't ban that guy. Come on, mods. It's fun. Assassin just came by to call you a clown, lol. Enjoy your fall into obscurity. Yeah. The thing I was gonna say is, out of all those people that initially asked me to be on, that I said no to, the only person that has not invited me back after months and months of back and forth was Lex Fridman. I think he unfollowed me. I don't think he likes me anymore, and I think it's partially because he really likes Destiny. I don't know what it is. Yeah. You love Albania, of course. Can we get you on Democracy Now! With our Queen Amy? They're the same kind of, you gotta accept that invite and call him a baboon in a suit every time he cuts you off? No. Hi, I'm from Germany and I'm getting more and more left radicalized lately. Do you have any recommendations on how to deal with the new worries one develops in this process? I feel so overwhelmed by all the fucking horrible world. Find some good comrades, you know? That's what you gotta do. And also focus on setting goals for yourself. Not everything has to be about the immediate unlocking of the political consciousness. Focus on goals for yourself, set goals and achieve them, and you will get a lot of pleasure out of that. There are a lot of things that are in your control in your life, and I urge a lot of people to focus on those things instantly. I think you will get a lot of stability out of that. Okay, first things first. I talked about this yesterday, but it bears repeating. Jason Hickel says, not Jackson Hinkle, Jason Hickel. I think he was formerly at, he's a professor, but I think he also sometimes writes for Huffington Post. But he said, this is depraved. The U.S. government has just announced that they will be punishing anyone involved in Cuba's famous overseas medical missions, including government officials in foreign countries whose people have benefited from Cuban medical assistance. Their objective is to further isolate Cuba and break South-South solidarities. I was like, yeah, I would love to interview a Cuban doctor that's been on a mission. Get fucked, American government. What are they going to do? Put me in fucking jail for talking to a Cuban doctor who went out on a mission to go and like help people, save people's lives? What a psychotic thing. We are so officially bad guy territory. We are, like, America has always done a lot of bad things, right? But the Trump administration is so consistently moving in the direction of just outwardly being bad. You know what I mean? Where the Trump administration is basically going like, no, we are evil. Like, you misunderstood. Do you still sit when you pee? I've actually never been a sitting pisser. I feel like it's too much of a waste of time. I'd rather let it rip. But I understand why people do it. You're missing out. Sit pissing is goated. Try sometime. I just don't have the time for it. Like, I'm ripping a piss on stream, you know what I mean? It's just like I have, around 35 to 40 seconds before chat goes crazy when I'm off camera. So I don't have time to just like sit down, pee, get up, you know what I mean? But when I'm pooping and I'm peeing, that's when I'm sitting down. All right, everyone's gonna be annoying and keep posting that bad Empanada video, right? I already watched the chatter, come on. I already watched it. The list has been public since 2015. All one had to do is Google it. Oh, Jeffrey Epstein court documents. Like, the only thing that they released is literally just something that was readily available for people. Owns a Steam Deck and doesn't sit pee. Yeah, that's why I don't sit pee, because I own a Steam Deck. If you own a Steam Deck and you sit piss, it's over. Like, you're gonna be wasting all of your time. Asmongold reacts to your stream about the Amaranth stuff. Okay. I wonder what he'll say. He's going to be like, yeah, this guy's not all right. He's just mad because a lot of people hate him. He's just mad because a lot of people hate him. It's all right. Probably because he's a radical anti-Semite. Yeah. Well. Okay, dude. He said you're wrong on almost everything. Is there a reason Asmon won't just talk to you? I think it's beginning to become the same exact reason why Ethan won't talk to me either. It's because, look, the reality of the matter is, although a lot of people constantly yell about how I'm wrong or bad or whatever the fuck, a lot of these guys, they're not very knowledgeable about the things they talk about. They just kind of talk about things from the angle of drama or controversy, or just simply regurgitate things that they see from YouTube videos. So in any sort of direct contest, in any sort of direct conversation, it would not be an actual debate. It would be more so similar to a lecture. And I think in the past, like Asmon and I, we were cordial, but I don't think now he will, like, now that he has firmly solidified his position as like a right-wing content creator, I don't think there's a big financial incentive here to have a conversation with me and go back on any of his thoughts. You know what I mean? He's in denial about being the top one political streamer. It's funny as fuck. I don't know why he does that. I mean, it's not even like a dunk. It's just the truth. You shit on too much. You shit too much on Hasanabi. You shit too much on being anti-boobs in games. I love boobs in games. It's so funny to me how Ethan's community was frothing at the mouth for you to respond, and when you did, they immediately switched stances to, no, don't talk to him. He doesn't deserve your time, king. Like, what the fuck? It's usually Ethan's dream to directly talk to his enemies. So weird how that's changed. Yeah, because they want to keep up the idea that like things are working, you know, that the opinions that they're presenting are actually true. And if you have someone who knows better, and you can't really misinterpret their stances in real time, that's going to be quite difficult to maintain this. It's going to be very difficult to keep lying to your audience, basically. That's it. In 1 year from now, this won't be relevant. The Asmongold stuff will be, but I don't think the Ethan stuff will be relevant. Yeah. Fresh and Fit had Amaranth on. I disagree. I think Asmongold's an independent thinker and promotes this type of arguments. I mean, if he's an independent thinker and he's open-minded, and I do think that there was a time when he was, certainly. I think Asmongold was definitely an independent thinker and open-minded, even though he had his obvious biases like titties in video games and stuff like that. But I think now he definitely is. I mean, he's gotten a lot of positive feedback doing a thing. Many of you in a similar predicament will probably operate in the same ways. Maybe not in this community because a lot of you are obviously political, but and have fully flushed out political worldviews. But like, if you are kind of a libertarian guy, okay, and you're like, oh, I'm an independent thinker, and then you watch a bunch of Trump videos and you kind of agree with Trump and you say he's based, and then all of a sudden you're fucking, blowing up. Why wouldn't you do that? It's like in line with your worldview, and it's not damaging inherently to the way you see the world. You don't go outside, you're relatively wealthy. It doesn't fucking matter, right? So in that situation, why wouldn't you do a right-wing pivot while still maintaining some veneer of centrism? That's the way I see it. It makes sense. I've said this before. People misunderstand this, but I've said this before, but I understand Asmongold very well. And the reason, there is obviously a major difference though, because like I do have ideological conviction. I don't think he has ideological conviction or a fully fleshed out worldview. Maybe he has like the bare bones of one. But as far as what motivates Asmongold, I think I understand it very well. Look, if you're a top content creator on any platform, especially Twitch, you're going to be able to understand other top content creators on the platform and their ambitions and what motivates them, right? Hassan gives off smartest man alive vibes. No, I'm a fucking dumbass. I also always say I'm an idiot. That's the other thing. Like, I'm stupid. I'm a stupid guy. I think a lot of the things that I talk about I approach from the point of common sense. Don't ever admit you're wrong. You're perfect all the time, every day, never made a mistake. That's it. You guys heard it here first from the man who has never, like, I don't know why this fucking pisses people off so much. I'm stupid, man. I say I'm stupid all the time. I always say I'm not an activist. I'm not a leader. I'm just a fucking dumbass Twitch streamer. I don't know why. I don't know why people are just like, nope, don't hear it. Don't hear it. Don't care. They take that you say you're stupid and claim you shouldn't speak about anything. Okay, well, true, you were wrong about Black Hawk speeds. There you go. I was off. I said a Black Hawk cannot actually change trajectory and directly launch itself like a missile, even on a landing, even on a plane that is landing, except I still believe that. A Black Hawk can only be in the trajectory of a plane that is landing and accidentally hit the plane. A Black Hawk can go up to what, 400 miles an hour or whatever, but it still doesn't matter. It can't fucking, like, you would have to be the greatest pilot of all time on a suicide mission to be able to get to be able to change the trajectory on a landing flight and just specifically go in and ram yourself into the side of a goddamn plane. Or 400 kilometers, not 400 miles. Or what was it? No, what was the plane? I'm forgetting the numbers. I'm not very good with numbers. Whatever. It's just changing directions is hard. That is true. Well, that was my point. Also, I do admit when I'm wrong. That's the other thing that people don't understand. 400 miles per hour would be nearly supersonic, bro. Read MHUD's message. As far as streamers go, at least you've heard of things. Tim the Tapman couldn't find Russia on the map and also thought islands were just floating on the water. And he's the smartest guy on Twitch besides you. Helicopters fly slower than planes. That is not a controversial take. You weren't wrong about the Filipino boast, but I think us Filipinos wanted more acknowledgement. I will always give the Filipinos, the Swagapinos, the acknowledgement. I've watched Asmongold for months and watched Hasanabi for months as well. And Hassan's worldview is significantly more reason than Asmon's is. Asmon seems to gauge his positions based off whatever the current right-wing sentiment is. Yeah, except that's popular though. Obviously, Donald Trump won. You know what I mean? Clearly, people want that. Okay? For me, I try to make my worldview popular in a country that is incredibly resistant to hearing me out or hearing what I have to say out. Okay? That's the major difference between someone like myself or even someone like Sex Pestany. Aside from the Sex Pest shit, like Sex Pestany is the closer to Asmongold than a lot of people realize. If Asmongold is just going off whatever the Republican Party is saying and whatever Trump is saying and whatever MAGA is saying, Sex Pestany is doing that for the Democratic Party, for the institutions. Now, of course, because the entirety of society is designed to uphold these institutions, he also can absolutely back his arguments with research and even a cursory Wikipedia glance. So he comes across as infinitely more well-read than any number of different dumbass right-wingers that he dukes out in the marketplace of ideas for that particular reason. Okay? Yes, saying that like the world is the best it's ever been and things are fantastic in the Western world and that the American government is this like infallible institution of good is not exactly a difficult position to come by. And there is going to be a lot of valid, reasonable, seemingly centrist, objective information that's readily available in terms of research that you can point to. What is happening? Place. But in terms of like dick riding, one of the two planks, Hog Trucker 69, I think Asmon's position is his view counts prove that he's popular and logical and correct position. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's part of it. You do come off as elitist when you prefer to pretend to be well-versed in hyper-complex subjects like what Asmongold thinks. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, more views equals I am right. It's true. That's why the most right person is Kai Cenat. Everybody knows this. I don't think it's necessarily elitist to also run with the assumption that like the average person can't comprehend any kind of academic literature whatsoever. I think that's silly. I think you can describe it in simplified ways, right? But I don't think that it's like elitist to entertain academia or research or rely on trusted resources of information. It's just how you can develop a better point of view. Yeah, I do think that with the bountiful information that's readily available to all, though, I do still think that in this day and age, we're getting dumber and dumber every single fucking year, straight up. I legitimately, this is one of my major issues with American society right now, is that we are unironically getting dumber and fucking dumber every goddamn day. It is very frustrating. We have no interest in the truth. We have no interest in establishing like a consensus opinion on anything. And that with supercharged American exceptionalism and American individualism, we have decided that like if I came up with a thought, no matter how fucking stupid it is, okay, it doesn't matter. I am unique. I'm a special little snowflake. And as that special little snowflake, you have to listen to me. There is validity to my claims, no matter how stupid it is. Pair that up with like a little bit of confidence, okay? With a little bit of confidence, or even the backing of one of the two major parties, and boom, you arrive at this crisis that we're at. Do you think TikTok Reels, kind of like clip culture, have played a role in that? Sure. Bad information is worse than no information. There was a point in time when I wouldn't have agreed with that, but I certainly do agree to that now. Yes, we are moving in the direction of idiocracy. Absolutely. And when you say YouTube is such an insanely powerful resource, or even TikTok, people say that about that too. Yes, there are wonderful things that you can learn on TikTok and in numerous other places. But the issue is you don't know who you're getting this from. Okay? I mean, wouldn't that include people like you? I like that you shit on others for their opinions. I don't see you try to find much middle ground. No, because I'm not saying that there is supposed to be a middle ground. Hello? There is no middle ground between good things and bad things. There is no like, oh, well, we should do marginally bad things and it will be fine. Okay? Also, don't ban guys like that. It's fine. I'll clap them if necessary. Remember the other day you talked with the German streamer about the election? You said the crime rate is at an all-time low. Do you think I know about the German crime rate? But the government statistics say otherwise, especially the violent crime with immigrant background is way much higher than bio-German. First of all, bio-German is hilarious. And secondly, I don't know what the fuck the German crime rate is, dumbass. Why do you think I made a statement on the German crime rate? I never did. If I will talk about the American crime rate, which is at an all-time low. Also, what the hell is a bio-German? This is what I'm talking about, okay? This is what I mean. When you make neo-Nazi sentiment, appropriate, allowed, permissible, people just kind of drop shit like this. What do you mean? What is a bio-German? Do you think that like biology plays a role in, people assimilating or integrating into any cultures? Is that what you actually think? Because that's kind of crazy. I know some other biological Germans who believe that as well back in the day. Bio-German is something people say in Germany. It comes from has a German biography. It's literally called Bio-Deutsche now. It's not used by everyday people. Bio just means organic food in German. Bio-German or Bio-Deutsche was Unword of the Year in 2024. In Germany, it's AfD talk. Yeah, I am the Bio-Deutsche. Nein! With bio, he means organic, like organic vegetables. We jokingly call the legacy Germans that. Okay, well, it was lost in the translation for me. I misunderstood. I thought you meant you're biologically German and not you're like organically German, which is still fucking stupid. Yeah, I'm pure. I'm of pure Germanic origin. How does that not ring any alarm bells for anybody, bro? That is crazy. I can't believe 2025 we got Germans who don't think they're neo-Nazis saying the exact same shit that Nazis said. Oh no, we're not saying deportations. We're saying remigration. It's different. We're not saying, Ubermensch. We're just saying bio-German, like pure German, the Volk, right? Like Volkswagen. Like you couldn't even wait 100 years to try to restore Nazi Germany. How did this happen? It hasn't even been 100 years, man. Neoliberalism was the road to fascism. Lefties told you. I know. It's crazy. It's Nazi shit. No one in Europe says that. Yeah, I guess you can't even say that they're neo-Nazis. It's ironic how you can make fun about every country but can't come to homeland Turkey law. Wait, what? That's not ironic at all. I also shit on Turkey all the time. This is a thing that I never understand when people go, yeah, dude. Yeah, how about you say this in Turkey, pal? It's like, are you saying that you want America to resemble Turkey in terms of like censorship? Is that what you're advocating for? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's not. How do you make up accusations like that? What accusations? Asmongold just lied and said you're a radical because you introduced and talked to a terrorist. I mean, yeah, I am a radical. It's true. I'm a radical, dude. I'm pretty rad. Getting harder to defend you on what? Dudes who have hated me. Dudes who have hated me for the longest time. Or, I mean, look at this. I just called my coworker listening to Destiny. He said you're pro-terror. It's officially the year of the coworker. It's getting harder to defend you, man. First it was a sex pest that called you a terrorist. Then it was Asmongold who has defended Elon Musk, both Sig Heiling, and also defended something that was truly unconscionable from the perspective of gaming, was silent on Elon Musk's path of exile, fraudulent behavior until there was too much pressure from his audience to respond to it, and still defends Elon Musk to this day. Okay. Now he's also saying I'm a radical, you know, pro-terror kind of guy. What's next, dude? Are you going to tell me that Sam Hyde has some bad opinions about me too? Oh my God. Nick Fuentes said he hates you, dude. Shit, dude. What am I going to do? Fuck. Oops. Yeah. You know who else doesn't like me? Andrew Tate. That's another guy. I'm cooked, I guess. It's over for me. You stepped out of your echo chamber for 2 seconds and got absolutely cooked. You are a disgrace, Hassan Piker. I don't even know what this person is saying, but we don't need to ban that guy. It's okay. All right. So no news today. Drama Thursday on the menu, Lamau. No, we're getting to the news right now. Also, drama and news do have the capacity to intersect. Best, did you blast off? I did. Chat hoppers got to stop coming in here from Asmon to report stuff. We do not care what a guy with sit down air that could kill a dog says. Jesus Christ. Amhud being a WoW player has more smoke for Asmongold than I ever will. Let's be real. Which way, Western man? If you're a WoW player and you love classic, you probably are over the age of 30. Okay? And if you're over the age of 30, you get your political opinions from either someone like myself, okay? You rely on someone like myself to describe to you what's going on, or someone like Asmongold. Many of them get it from Asmongold. A lot more people get it from Asmongold, especially in the WoW Classic community, I think. Why are you calling me out like this? I'm sorry. Okay. Theocracy clip shows what you will be covering 1,000 years. Okay. Let's get started. President Trump and UK Prime Minister Stalin. Okay. UK Prime Minister Keir Stalin in a bilateral meeting.
We have Russia. We have Ukraine. I think we're very well advanced. I think Russia has been acting very well. We have Representatives Steve Witkoff and Scott and Marco and JD. We're all involved. Everyone.
My goat, Steve Goatkoff.
And a lot more. But I think we're very well advanced on a deal, but we have not made a deal yet. So I don't like to talk about peacekeeping until we have a deal. I like to get things done. I don't want to give it the bad luck sign. We don't want to do that. But we've had very good talks with Russia, and we've had very good talks, as you know, with Ukraine. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, does the Prime Minister have to choose a closer relationship with the EU as he is seeking and a good trade relationship with you? Which one should he go for?
Well, I think we have just a great relationship. We actually had a good relationship before. We've met a couple of times. I'm very impressed with his wife, I must say. She's a beautiful, great woman. And I said you're very lucky. He's very lucky. And no, we've had a very good relationship.
Let's see if Keir sucks him off more than Macron. Oh, 100%. That's not even a question. Keir is omega cucked. because Macron is French. So as a Frenchman, he's always going to have like a sense of elitism and an opinion that like Anglophones are limited in their behavior, in their culture. Anglophones are lesser. Okay. Having said that, however, Keir Starmer not only is British, so he's auto-cucked. That's just how it is. But also is a particularly servile individual too. So I think Keir is a craven, cowardly individual to begin with, and he's British. Like he's not a particularly charismatic person. He's really the worst type of person to talk to Donald Trump. It's Sir Keir Starmer to you. Yes. Might I share 2 good news involving you, please? First, thanks to my Hasanabi Clips channel, I finally got monetized, and I'm going to keep grinding. Yesterday, we had our first Creatives Union meeting, and next meeting, we're setting up a charter. You were the inspo for this. Thanks for constantly encouraging us. Hell yeah. Keir tried to do the same as Macron, fact-checking him on EU-Ukraine aid, but it was Rizless. Yeah, Keir also is like incredibly uncharismatic. Macron is married to a pedophile, and Kid Starter is friends with pedophiles. That's true. But they're European politicians. Also, American politicians also have obviously direct involvement with pedophiles too. I mean, look at fucking Jeffrey Epstein, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So like, who amongst these people is not like in one way, shape, or form directly involved with a pedophile? You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, Tate Brothers. We got that going on too. It's become a very weird. It's become a very weird like political movement. On the gaming side, a lot of gamers made bigger titties in video games like this unashamed political movement for themselves, right? They try to hit that from the angle of like censorship and talk about how like if we don't have bigger titties in video games, if I can't like sweatily jerk off to every video game that I play, then, you know, this is a genocide. And basically a lot of other content creators and you know, just like right-wing people demonstrating right-wing ideology have actively talked about like undermining age of consent laws for some weird reason. And I don't understand it. Like we are not only getting dumber, but we're getting grosser as well. It truly has made me anti-gooner, despite the fact that I was almost always a pro-gooner kind of guy. These past couple of years, I think has definitely changed my attitude a little bit because like we are devolving. Like, I can't even joke about it anymore because I don't want fucking people to think I'm like those weirdos, you know? Anyway.
He's worried about Britain potentially undoing some of the benefits of Brexit by seeking a closer tie with the EU, who you said was set up to screw
No, I don't worry about that. I thought, you know, frankly, what they did was the right thing at the time, and I think that'll probably prove out over the centuries. You know, you have a long time to go. But I think I predicted that was going to happen, and it did happen. And it'll work it out. I think it's already worked itself out.
Yes. Mr. President, can I ask on Chagos, Mr. President? Keir Starmer has signed a deal to give away the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Will you approve that deal?
Well, we're going to have some discussions about that very soon, and I have a feeling it's going to work out very well. They're talking about a very long-term, powerful.
There's some suspicion that after talking to all these European leaders and also getting this, the mineral rights, the mineral extraction rights from Ukraine, that Donald Trump is going to do a big dump of weapons to Ukraine to continue the fun, right? I don't know. I don't know if that will actually happen, but it also wouldn't shock me. I would say that Donald Trump actively saying he's pro-Russia over and over again has been more shocking than Donald Trump continuing the Ukrainian resistance to the best of their ability narrative. Even the fact that he was saying like, you know, we're going to take all the minerals and stuff like that. Like, I don't think that in and of itself is all that shocking. That's just Donald Trump doing Donald Trump. He softened his tone on Zelensky today since he's coming tomorrow. He said he didn't remember calling him a dictator. Yeah. I mean, that's also classic Trump. If you remember anything from the previous administration when he was president, he would always like say some unhinged things, and then the more reasonable adults around him would be like, oh, he didn't mean it. Like Steve Witkoff, from what I understand, literally went around and was like, yeah, no, he's just saying like he wants to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, but like it's just to get the conversation started, you know? He doesn't mean it. He just wants to get the conversation started. It's just a prank. He's just pro-ethnically cleansing Palestinians from the Gaza Strip as a way to get the other surrounding Arab coalition partners to get more involved in the conversation, as though they haven't been involved thus far, you know?
A lease, a very strong lease, about 140 years, actually. That's a long time. And I think we'll be inclined to go along with your country. Yeah, I think it sounds. It's a little bit early. We have to be given the details, but it doesn't sound bad. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you obviously can do business with our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. You said yesterday that the EU was constructed to screw the US when it comes to trade. What can our Prime Minister say to you to persuade you not to impose tariffs on the United Kingdom?
Yeah, did I use the word that you said, that bad word?
I think so.
Well, I think that the EU, yeah, I've had problems with the EU because, and we're not talking about, we happen to have a great relationship with you, but we did have, and we do have problems with the EU because they've tariffed us. They do it in the form of a VAT tax, which is about 20%, and many other taxes. They sue our companies. They sued Apple.
Wait, what? Dude, the value added tax is not. Wait, what? The VAT doesn't. What? First of all, that's not. That's what? Is he trying to like redefine European tax policy in general? Like, what is going on? VAT is not applicable to just imported goods. What are you saying? Or specifically American goods? VAT is across the board. It's literally in the name. It is value added tax. Like, am I misunderstanding something? Did he misspeak, or does he just truly not understand how value added tax works? Like, but this definition is sales tax is a tariff. I mean, the problem with, okay, if VAT was only applicable to American goods, then technically he wouldn't be wrong, I guess, in terms of the impact, because it would potentially lower the amount of American goods that are being purchased, because American goods would be more expensive. Okay, and that's precisely how a tariff works as well. A tariff is going to increase the cost of goods that are coming in, because at the point of when the middleman is purchasing the goods, at the point of entry into the country, they're paying an additional fee, which automatically increases the cost, okay? And that cost will always be carried over to the consumer. So a tariff can be seen as a sales tax. The difference is the VAT tax that he's talking about are they're not specific to the United States goods. They're not specific to goods coming just from the United States. It's not country specific at all. It's all goods. It's just another form of regressive taxation. The value added tax is pretty simple. It's in the name. When you're purchasing something, there is a percentage fee applied to that at the point of purchase. Okay? VAT, victory over America tax. Yeah. It also is added to domestic goods as well. The argument is that the tax is due by importers and not at the end of the chain by the customer. VAT is due imports on the EU and elsewhere, unlike in the United States, where sales tax only applies in the final transaction of the chain. This could deter an importer of U.S. goods who would be stuck with a VAT bill by the time their goods arrive. Okay, but it's not specific to American goods. A tariff is specific to goods coming in, either specific to a good that has, like in normal circumstances, a competitive domestic manufacturing opportunity, or goods coming in the way that Trump is using it from individual countries. A value added tax is across the board. At least as far as I understand it, it has been in the EU across the board. It's like for domestic goods as well. So I don't know why Reuters is trying to play catch up with Donald Trump. And I don't know why Reuters is trying to play catch up with Donald Trump and trying to make his sentiment make sense when it very clearly is wrong. 40 seconds in.
The EU's been very nasty. It's just been, they haven't treated us properly.
This country does not charge tariffs on U.S. goods, so it's not clear what's next for Canada. But Trump now appears to be going after sales taxes, like the GST, or Europe's value-added tax, VAT.
Well, what they are now is they have a 20% VAT tax, which we're considering to be similar or the same as the tariff.
Even though Trump's tariff...
Why are they sane-washing him? This is an objectively incorrect... Am I crazy? Like, this is an objectively incorrect statement. No, you cannot... Dude, he's interfering with tax policy of other countries. This goes beyond trade. He's like, no, I want everyone else to also be a libertarian paradise. What is happening? Is this the final stage of like global neoliberalism? Donald Trump is interfering in foreign markets and their own personal sales taxes and whatnot in an effort to make sure that their coffers are dry, and then, you know, his buddies can come in and purchase all of those underfunded public sectors. Is that what is going on? Like, is that what's happening here? He said, fuck the IMF, fuck the World Bank. I'm sidestepping everything. I'm just using big dick American trade and also our mighty military and global hegemonic superpower status to do this one last thing where if you want to fucking fill your coffers to pay for social safety nets, even if you don't have currency sovereignty, for example, and you actually do need to, tax your citizenry in order to have these beneficial, expansive social safety nets, I'm coming after it. I want you to literally become a poorer country. I want your public sectors to be robbed blind so that my billionaire buddies can come in and purchase them and privatize them by force. Is he talking about VAT or sales tax? It's both 19% in Germany, for example. Is he confusing them? I'm so confused. No, reach? I don't think that's reach. I'm trying to explain. First of all, that's not a reach. That's not a cap. Donald Trump is objectively wrong. And he also is personally saying he sees value-added tax as a form of tariff. It's not. He also is not even correct about tariffs to begin with.
Tariff threat is now...
I can't believe this is the one... Dude, this is like kind of boring in general. This is like a kind of boring part of this conversation. And it also doesn't make any sense whatsoever that he's like, this is what he's chosen to do. But like a tariff can be... a tariff will have costs carried over to the consumer and can be seen as like a sales tax or a value-added tax, if you want to consider it that. The difference, however, is that a tariff is either industry-specific, sector-specific, good-specific, or country-specific. A value-added tax is across the board, unless you have exemptions. And I don't think these countries have, exemptions for domestically manufactured goods that can avoid VAT taxes versus fucking American goods that get slapped with a VAT.
With members of the G7. Tomorrow, the progress toward peace will continue when President Zelensky visits the White House. He'll be here tomorrow in the early part of the day, and we'll be signing a historic agreement that will make the United States a major partner in developing Ukraine's minerals and rare earths and oil and gases, and we have a great understanding. I think it's going to be great for Ukraine. We're going to be at the site, and we'll be digging. We'll be digging. Dig we must. A big utility in New York contacted us, and they used to have a sign, dig we must, and we will be digging. But much of the European aid to Ukraine has been sent in the form of loans for which they expect to be paid back, and we didn't have that honor under the Biden administration. He sent money, or just sent it, money after money after money, and never had any knowledge of ever seeing it back. Maybe $300 to $350 billion. But under the breakthrough agreement, very unusual, which everyone said was difficult to get, but it's really very good for Ukraine and very good for us. The American taxpayers will now effectively be reimbursed for the money and hundreds of billions of dollars poured into helping Ukraine defend itself, which by and of itself is a very worthy thing to do. We've paid far more than any other country, and with most of our support, it's been paid in military, the finest weapons anywhere in the world. This includes vast amounts of military hardware, ammunition, and various other things that we now have to start rebuilding our own stockpiles. Additionally, the minerals agreement will provide the basis for a more sustainable future relationship between the United States and Ukraine, and thus stimulate the long-term prosperity that will help the Ukrainians rebuild their country. It's been demolished, and the ruined infrastructure. The infrastructure, as you know, is in very bad shape. In just over 1 month, our administration has already achieved more progress toward peace than years in the other administration where they did nothing toward peace. They didn't understand what was happening. Our approach is basically common sense. As I said, so many of the things that we do are based on common sense. If you want peace, you have to talk, both sides. As I discussed with Prime Minister Starmer, the next step we're making is toward a very achievable ceasefire. We hope that that can happen quickly, because thousands of young people, in this case, we're not talking about Americans, we're talking about Ukrainians and Russians are being killed every week, thousands. And it's a rough battlefield. It's a flat piece of land, and the bullet only stops when it hits somebody. And this week, I saw the reports, and it's I don't even want to say what they are, but thousands of people, young, vibrant people died, and we want to stop that. Senseless, should have never happened. This will lay the groundwork for a long-term peace agreement that will return stability to Eastern Europe and hopefully ensure that such a terrible war will never happen on European soil or, for that matter, anywhere again. It's a horrible thing that's going on. The disaster in Ukraine shows exactly why it's so important for the United Kingdom and other NATO partners to make large investments in their defense capabilities. In many cases, 4% or 5% of GDP would be appropriate. I know that they're raising it. I just read an article, a great article, about the work you're doing in the UK as to the military. You're raising it quite a bit, which is a great thing to do for your country. It's a great thing to do. It's sad that we need that, but probably need that. So congratulations on that. I know you got it through. After years of chronic underfunding, there's an urgent need to catch up for some countries. And I want to thank the Prime Minister once again for traveling here today. Working together, I believe that we'll once again demonstrate the power of our country's unique friendship. This is indeed a unique friendship. It's been
so unique.
And I think it's only gotten stronger, and we will make sure that it stays that way. We're going to have a great trade agreement. One way or the other, we're going to end up with a very good trade agreement for both countries. And we're working on that as we speak. I think we'll have the confines. I think we'll have something maybe even in terms of possibilities agreed to very shortly. JD's working on it, Vice President, and Scott, and I'm just looking at this all from Mike. You're going to work on it. Everyone's going to work on it. We'll see if we can do something pretty quickly, but we're going to make some great trade agreements with the UK and with the Prime Minister, and it'll happen very quickly. So I just want to thank you again, and please thank King Charles for the invite, and I look forward to you giving our acceptance on behalf of the United States of America. Thank you very much, sir.
Cock.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your leadership. This has been a very...
Please acknowledge Canada. Everyone I know is afraid. We're right next to the USA. Chatters, Canadian chatters, I'm with you, okay? Anything that you do in an attempt to resist against the American empire, I'm with you all the way. You have every right.
It was so good to see the bust of Winston Churchill back in its rightful place just a moment ago. But look, in a moment of real danger around the world, this relationship matters more than ever. We remain
I
each
can't
other's
believe I have such a lame community. They're saying unmute Keir Starmer.
To the other's aid, to counter threats.
I never thought we would get to this point where my own community would say, please unmute Mr. Sir Keir Starmer. We want to hear what he has to say.
Countries have done more together to keep people safe. And in a few weeks, we mark VE Day, the 80th anniversary of victory in Europe. Britain and America fought side by side to make that happen. One of the greatest moments in our history. We stand side by side still today, and we're focused now on bringing an enduring end to the barbaric war in Ukraine. Mr. President, I welcome your deep and personal commitment to bring peace and to stop the killing. You've created a moment of tremendous opportunity to reach a historic peace deal, a deal that I think would be celebrated in Ukraine and around the world. That is the prize. But we have to get it right. There's a famous slogan in the United Kingdom from after the Second World War. That is that we have to win the peace. And that's what we must do now, because it can't be peace that rewards the aggressor or that gives encouragement to regimes like Iran. We agree history must be on the side of the peacemaker, not the invader. So the stakes, they couldn't be higher. And we're determined to work together to deliver a good deal. We've discussed a plan today to reach a peace that is tough and fair, that Ukraine will help shape, that's backed by strength, to stop Putin coming back for more. I'm working closely with other European leaders on this, and I'm clear that the UK is ready to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to support a deal, working together with our allies, because that is the only way that peace will last. Mr. President, in this new era, you're also right that Europe must step up. And let me tell you now, I see the growing threats we face.
I love that he says he's not on the side of invaders when he went to Cyprus and celebrated the British Air Force giving surveillance data to Israel to, you know, strike Palestinian targets.
We're already one of the biggest spenders in NATO, and now we're going much further, delivering Britain's biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War. This isn't just talk, it's action, rebalancing the transatlantic alliance, making us all stronger, and standing up for our shared values and shared security, as Britain always has. Mr. President, it's no secret we're from different political traditions, but there's a lot that we have in common. We believe it's not taking part that counts. What counts is winning. If you don't win, you don't deliver. And we're determined to deliver for the working people of Britain and America, who want and deserve to see their lives improve. So we're both in a hurry to get things done, and that's what the UK and US do when we work together. We win and we get things done. So we'll do what it takes to keep our people safe. We'll also work together to deliver some big economic wins that can benefit us both. We have a $1.5 trillion invested in each other's economies, creating over 2.5 million jobs across both economies. Our trading relationship is not just strong, it's fair, balanced, and reciprocal. We're leaders together in so many areas, ranked 1 and 2 in the world as investment destinations, 1 and 2 for universities, 1 and 2 for Nobel Prizes, 1 and 2 in golf as well, by the way. And we're the only 2 Western countries with trillion-dollar tech sectors, leaders in AI. And look, we take a similar approach on this issue. Instead of over-regulating these new technologies, we're seizing the opportunities that they offer. So we've decided today to go further, to begin work on a new economic deal with advanced technology at its core. Look, our 2 nations together shaped the great technological innovations of the last century. We have a chance now to do the same for the 21st century. I mean, artificial intelligence could cure cancer. That could be a moonshot for our age. And that's how we'll keep delivering for our people.
We've basically given up on everything. That's why these guys keep talking about like moonshot cancer research or whatever. Like, yeah, oh, our collaborative efforts are gonna fucking bring about a cure for cancer, I promise. This is weirdly enough a brandonification of all global leaders. Remember, he said that too. Brandon was like, we're gonna cure AIDS and cancer.
The King, not only sending his best wishes, but also inviting the President and the First Lady to make a state visit to the United Kingdom, an unprecedented second state visit. This has never happened before.
Why no world leaders?
It's so incredible, it will be historic. And I'm delighted that I can go back to His Majesty the King.
Why no world leaders standing up to Trump?
Because
he's Trump, dude.
So thank you. Our teams will now work together to set a date, and we look forward to welcome you in the United Kingdom.
Because he's America. What do you mean?
Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. What a beautiful accent. I would have been president 20 years ago if I had that accent.
That's amazing. Another handshake.
Okay, let's see here. Go ahead, please.
Earlier today, you told me that you believe that foreign countries pay tariffs, but Americans who are concerned about higher prices believe, as most people do, that they're paid by consumers and importers when they import things into this country. Can you explain how you came to this belief that foreign governments are paying tariffs? For the Prime Minister, did you discuss with President Trump his repeated statements of desire to annex Canada? And has the King expressed any concern over the President's apparent desire to remove one of his realms from his control?
So I'll go ahead. The first part, the tariffs are necessary because we've been treated very unfairly by many, many countries, including our friends, friend and foe. But we've been treated very unfairly in trade.
Everyone's so unfair
at levels
to us.
that nobody's really ever seen before.
The global
especially under the
superpower.
Biden administration, they really
The global superpower. Everyone's so unfair to us, even though we've dominated the world.
During my 4 years, we had the best economy in the history of our country. Probably the best economy, maybe the best economy in the history of the world. And I used tariffs to even things up. And in particular with China, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars and we had no inflation. And it's a myth. It's a myth that's put out there by foreign countries that really don't like paying tariffs, and especially to even up. So we've been treated badly by a lot. We're using tariffs. And I find, and you just have to look at the numbers, but I find that it's not about inflation. It's about fairness. And the inflation for us has not existed. And I don't think it's going to exist. We're going to bring our car industry back. We're going to bring our chips back. We're going to bring so many things back to our country, including pharmaceuticals and drugs. And the thing that's going to get us there is tariffs. And I say often it's my favorite word in the dictionary, but I always preface that by saying now, because I got into a lot of trouble with the fake news where they say that's not good. So I say God, love, family, wife.
What?
Number
Is he
4
okay?
or 5 on the list. But I will tell you, it's going to make our country rich, and it's going to stop us from being a laughing stock all over the world because we have been taken advantage of like no country has ever been taken advantage of. Thank you very much. And
Look, we had a really good discussion, a productive discussion, a good discussion, as a result of which our teams are now going to be working together on an economic deal. Our teams are going to be working together on security in Ukraine. You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't
that's
discuss
enough.
Canada.
Thank you. Please, go ahead. Go ahead, yes. Thank you.
Hi, Natasha Clark from
Hi.
LBC.
Yeah,
Mr.
why no
President,
answer to the Canada
a
question?
trade deal with Britain, which we of course welcome. President Obama once said Britain was at the back of the queue for that trade deal. Where are we now? When do you think we're going to see that? And Prime Minister, the BBC has today admitted serious flaws over the recent Gaza coverage, suggestions of payments made to people linked to Hamas. Does the BBC still have your trust? Thank you.
Well, they didn't do well with President Obama. He'd never got a lot of things done, and he didn't get a trade deal done that was of any importance or magnitude. We've had great discussions on trade, and I think we're going to have a deal done rather quickly as it can be done. We're going to have something, I think, rather quickly. We expect to do that. Okay? Please.
On the BBC, look, I've been concerned about the programme in question. The Secretary of State had a meeting with the BBC. I think it was yesterday, could have been the day before. Thank you.
Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Pardon me. Mr. President, do you support Article 5 of the NATO treaty? And are you concerned that it might be triggered if European peacekeeping forces end up in Ukraine?
I support it. I don't think we're going to have any reason for it. I think we're going to have
You
a
doing
very
okay, man?
successful
No.
peace.
I don't think anyone is
And
doing
I think it's going to
okay.
be a long-lasting peace, and I think it's going to happen hopefully quickly. If it doesn't happen quickly, it may not happen at all. And we want it for 2 reasons. Number one, I want to see on a humane basis, I want to see soldiers stop getting shot, because largely it's soldiers now. Towns have been obliterated, but it's largely that. And I don't want to pay billions and billions and billions of dollars, nor does the Prime Minister or anybody else, on a senseless war that should have never happened. And we're going to get it taken care of. But I think it's going to be a peace that's going to be long-lasting. Do you have a question for the Prime Minister?
Thank you. Mr. Prime Minister, you were asking the President today about a backstop for Europe if the peacekeeping force ends up in Ukraine. Did you feel like you got a satisfying answer for yourself and for Europe? And Mr. President, if you want to comment on that as well, please do.
I felt we had a very productive discussion. Obviously, as the President says, the deal has to come first. But yes, our teams are going to be talking about how we make sure that deal sticks, is lasting and enforced. So our teams will be talking about that.
Okay. Please, Blue.
Mr. President, some experts think it could take more than a decade to mine the precious minerals from Ukraine. How much should the U.S. expect to receive, and when do you expect to see that come to fruition?
Well, we're never going to know that answer, but by our being in Ukraine and doing the exploration and also the digging and taking the rare earth, which we need in our country very badly, we'll be doing a substantial amount of work, probably about at least what we have in there, and we hope to be able to do that. You never know when it comes to that. You know, you dig and maybe things aren't there like you think they're there, but we'll be spending a lot of time there. It'll be great for Ukraine. It's like a huge economic development project, so it'll be good for both countries. Okay? Please.
Prime Minister, you've talked about putting British soldiers' boots on the ground in Ukraine in the event that President Trump succeeds with his peace deal. But can you do that without a firm assurance that America will have our back in the form of some kind of security guarantee were Putin to breach that agreement? And Mr. President, tomorrow you're seeing President Zelensky to sign this deal on minerals and energy that could be hugely important to the United States. Will you take the opportunity to apologize to him for calling him a dictator while praising Vladimir Putin,
drama,
who is a dictator?
Well, Robert, let me start by saying I've been really clear today and
previously. I mean, I guess like this is the only type of fucking response we're going to get.
The United Kingdom need to step up.
Trump doesn't like it. Look at his face.
And security. We've been doing that in recent days. You saw the announcement we made on spending.
I think, you know what's funny? I'm going to go along with the Krasnov Trump is a KGB agent memes because like the most extensive mineral maps on Ukraine come from the USSR. Okay? Like USSR surveys. So maybe they gave it to him in the fucking 80s as the KGB asset that he was, and that's why he's like, I am Krasnov, sleeper cell for USSR. I need access to USSR mineral map. I have USSR mineral map of Ukraine in my penthouse. I know there is rare earth mineral.
Will be a lasting deal. And coming out of this, our teams will now be talking in detail about that.
And I think we're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow, 11 o'clock. And
I like that they never answer the dictator shit. Come on, man.
We're going to get along really well, okay? We have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for them. We've given them a lot of equipment and a lot of money, but they have fought very bravely, no matter how you figure it. They have really fought. Somebody has to use that equipment, and they have been very brave in that sense. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Ceasefire deal is nearing an end this
No answer to the dictator thing.
There's been some worry that phase 2 might never get there. Do you believe that phase 2 of the ceasefire in Gaza will come to fruition? And have you spoken to Netanyahu about it? And for the Prime Minister, this peacekeeping deal has been pushed forward by the UK and France as well. Have you been in discussions with any other European countries to join this initiative? And are you expecting Commonwealth countries to also join the effort? Thank you.
So we're working very hard in the Middle East and Gaza and all of the problems, and it's been going on for years and
he's working very hard. That's why he made the AI video. He posted the AI video.
But it could be a very beautiful neighborhood, and I think we're going to come up with some pretty good solutions. But phase 1 is almost complete. We've had some people that have been very seriously injured, very seriously hurt, both physically and mentally. They've come out of there very, very some of them in very, very bad shape. It's shocking. Many young people aren't in bad shape. Young people are strong, healthy. They don't die. People have come out dead, young people and old people. It's a rough situation, but I think we're going to make it much better. And I think that we've had a huge impact on that since we've been in just the 4 weeks. I think we've had a huge impact on Gaza, the Middle East, and we have some pretty good talks going on concerning lots of other people that are going to make it better. So we'll see what happens. Nobody really knows, but we'll see what happens. But I think we've had a very positive impact. Prime Minister?
Yeah, on the question of...
very, very positive.
European countries, yes, I've spoken to a number of countries, particularly in the last few weeks. We had a meeting in Paris last week. I've got a meeting on Sunday with 18 countries to further our discussions.
Let's see what Asmongold's chat is saying about this.
Talking quite intensely to our French
Let's take a peek on the other side
and to
see
NATO,
what the fuck is going on
to
there.
other countries as well, because as I say, I think it's important for European countries, including the United Kingdom, to step up and do more in the defence and security of Europe and our continent and the United Kingdom, and we'll do so. Well, we're talking to a number of other countries.
Thank you. Yes, in the
Here
red,
is
please.
awful, so wasted time for a
Pink
whole month,
red.
understandable.
Flaming
Kamala
red.
version 2.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. A question on Ukraine. Number one is, if you're not considering the security guarantees, are you open to other forms of, for example, intelligence cooperation with Ukraine? And Mr. Prime Minister,
Okay.
President Trump
I didn't
has
think they'd be
proposed a plan
pro-Israel,
for
but...
Gaza. Does this fit into the two-state solution that the UK held?
I didn't know
for
Asmon
a
watched
long
stuff, dude.
time?
Yes,
Do you see it fit
Asmongold
into
is
general
literally
Middle
the
Eastern
largest
strategy?
political content creator on this platform.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're open to many things, but before I even think about that, that's almost pleasant to think about because that would mean that peace has been arrived at. We have to arrive at that peace. And, you went 3.5 years with an administration that never really had a meeting. They didn't have a meeting on peace, and there was no prospect of peace. I think, frankly, Russia wanted to go through the whole long deal. I don't think they do anymore. I don't think they do. We had a very big impact on that whole situation. But I don't like talking about phase 2 until I get phase 1. Phase 1 is I have to make peace. And we have to get Russia to agree. We have to get Ukraine to agree. And I think we will, I think we've come a long way. I believe we're going to get it done. I wouldn't say that if I didn't think so. And I think it will be very important, very historic, and we're going to save a lot of lives.
On the question of Gaza, the last few weeks of the ceasefire have been very impactful. And for me, there are two images that I remember more than any other. The first is Emily Damari, who is British, being reunited with her mother. You may remember she had her fingers missing after what she endured. That was an incredible moment. I'd spent a lot of time with her mother whilst she was held captive, and her mother went through absolute torture. The other image was thousands of Palestinians marching through rubble, trying to return to their communities and their homes. So we have to do everything we can to ensure that the ceasefire continues, so that more hostages can be returned, so that aid can be brought in that's desperately needed. We need to allow Palestinians to return and to rebuild their lives, and we must all support them in doing that. And yes, I believe that the two-state solution is ultimately the only way for a lasting peace in the region.
And think of that. She came home with her fingers and part of her hand blown off.
That's terrible.
How bad does it get? And we had others that came home in much, much worse shape than that. Yeah. It's a terrible situation. Please, yes.
Starmer's a puppet reading a message he received on his phone, Lamau. He says that in front of Trump, yet imprisons anyone who dares say shit about criminals from the Middle East.
Did our Prime Minister persuade you not to put tariffs on the UK? And if I may, Prime Minister, do you
no
think
interest
that
in
Vladimir
like
Putin
actually what
is
the
a man
fuck these
who
guys
will
are
keep his
saying,
word?
and everything is about the aesthetics. I feel like for these guys, they're just like hyper focusing on Keir Stalin saying a lot or being fake and phony.
They pay him over there. But he tried. I think there's a very good chance that in the case of these two great friendly countries, I think we could very well end up with a real trade deal where the tariffs wouldn't be necessary. We'll see. But he earned whatever they pay him. He earned today. He was working hard at lunch, and I'm very receptive to it. I think we. In all fairness, in all seriousness, I think we have a very good chance at arriving at a very good deal. JD and Scott and Howard, all the people are working on it, and I think we have a good chance at arriving at a deal that could be terrific, really terrific for both countries. Okay? Thank you.
On the second part of the question, I think my views on Putin are pretty well rehearsed and pretty well known. My concern is that if there's a deal, and I hope there is a deal, that it must be a lasting deal, that it's not a temporary measure. And that is why I think it's really important that Putin knows that this deal, a historic deal, which I very much hope comes about, is there, and it's a lasting deal, and that we're able to deal with any inclination he has to go again or go further.
I think we'll have two deals. I think we'll have a deal on ending the war, and I think we're going to end up with a great trade deal with you. And it's an honor to be with you, and I want to thank everybody very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
3 handshakes, baby. 3 of them. Kid Starmer got the triple handshake. Art of the deal, baby. Art of the deal. Yeah, I mean, I often find myself knowing less, like learning less about where America is most likely going to go in terms of foreign policy after these press conferences. It is truly unique the way that these guys can get up there and say so much and virtually say nothing. Like, it is wild. I feel like every time I hear a Trump press conference, I'm like, I'm more confused than before the press conference started. You know, maybe I'm losing my critical thinking skills. I don't know, but it's just like it truly feels as though they're saying a lot and saying nothing at all at the same time. It seems like they're saying a lot, but they're actually saying nothing at all. But seemingly, the reason why I also like to look at what like Asmongold's chat is saying in this situation, because he's the largest content creator on this platform and has a massive community of people who are seemingly tuning in to get some right-wing commentary, is because I want to understand like what their attitude is, like what their takeaway is from this stuff. And unsurprisingly, I guess it's usually just, you know, optics. Like they like that Trump is like dominating people, right? They like that Trump is dominating people. They think like Keir Starmer is a cuck, because he is. I mean, it is, that is true. He does do the like wishy-washy. He's basically Kamala, but, you know, English. And it's interesting because like Western foreign policy is all unified under the American direction, under the American umbrella. And that has been the case for a very long time. So it doesn't really matter what Keir Starmer says, just like, you know, the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in terms of the broader opinion is not that different. Trump is simply the great accelerator, right? He says the quiet part out loud, and he pushes the direction of foreign policy, the unified Western foreign policy, in the direction that it was supposed to go towards, but accelerates that process. How did EU become such cucks? I mean, they have been for a very long time. The European Union and this like allegiance has always been that way. Post-World War II. It's all on-the-lips content with no idea the effects it'll have on them. It's all right-wing content is as of now. Yeah. So how do I convince friends that Ethan Klein's video on you is inaccurate? There's a bad Empanada video that's like super long, but it goes through every single point if you want to, or a playlist that you can point them to that dissects virtually everything that he said that is completely incorrect. Anyway, but there is definitely a right-wing takeover. And here's XUC responding to what I had to say earlier, like what I had to say yesterday. XUC reacting to me, calling out Asmongold for the rise of right-wing sentiment that's making waves in streaming. And the reason why I talked about this is because like Amaranth and many other content creators that previously were like seemingly socially conscious or somewhat progressive are now openly saying like unhinged right-wing shit. Okay. Amaranth made inferences to like, you know, LGBTQ activists dying in the California wildfires. Right. And you look bad smelling. I smell amazing. But regardless, XQC responds to that. So let's take a look at what he had to say about it. Wait, why is there no?
People voted for Trump. Okay. Bro, regardless of what we were saying, okay, look at the amount of votes. Imagine saying it. The general population feels this way, but then the general population votes a different way.
Wait, I think he misunderstood my point. No, I understand that right-wing sentiment is very popular. XQC thinks I don't understand that. No, I actually do understand that. And I talk about it all the time. I disagree with the popular sentiment. And I also predict that once the impact of the Trump administration's actions are felt by broader subsects of American society, then they will start realizing that it's no longer a good thing. The reality of the matter is, it's not necessarily that Donald Trump was incredibly popular. It was more so that the Democratic Party was incredibly unpopular, right? And this obviously, I mean, this has been the case for many instances throughout history where we look back and go, yeah, these were really incredibly violent things that we did to other people. Slavery was popular. I mean, Nazi sentiment in Nazi Germany was popular. It doesn't mean that it's correct, okay? He simultaneously says you grift to the left because it's popular while also saying right-wing ideas are more popular. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It obviously doesn't make sense. But my point is, yes, right-wing, the right-wing agenda brought forward by Donald Trump is very popular right now. And I talk about this extensively. I talk about this every single day. It's because a lot of people interpret the Trump administration as like doing something, doing anything, rather than keeping the regular order of business in line. Because a lot of people demanded a shakeup, right? That's it. A lot of people demanded a shakeup, and Donald Trump's approval ratings show that. Because they voted for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump won, because he was the mallet that would destroy the American government. Because for a lot of people, after years and years of neoliberal austerity and social safety nets diminishing and the quality of life, the relative quality of life getting worse and worse for people in spite of the reality that, technological advancements have made us feel as though our lives are getting better, okay? The relative quality of life has worsened in the United States of America. Productivity has gone up, whereas wages have remained stagnant. They have not adjusted to the productivity. This is at the heart of capitalism. And a lot of income inequality exists in this country to the same degrees that it existed in the Gilded Age. These are the reasons as to why many people feel uncertainty about their future. They're angry, they're resentful, they hate these institutions, and they thought that Donald Trump was going to break these institutions. And Donald Trump is breaking these institutions, but not in the direction that actually fixes these institutions and fixes the problems that people actually experience, but in a way that will worsen. Okay? Calling every single person in a stream over 55,000 people a Nazi is not venting, is labeling. That behavior is exactly what the elite want you to do. They want you to alienate everyone that can be brought over to our cause. They want you to fracture and isolate. You're being too emotional. What are you talking about? The number doesn't matter. They believe what they... Okay, these guys are yapping amongst themselves. They're arguing amongst themselves. I'm not going to read it. But so there is no point where there's no point where I've ever said that like right-wing sentiment and right-wing policies right now are not perceived as a overall good thing and people are actually in support of it. They have a much better way of marketing the things that they're doing that is in line with a lot of people's misunderstandings, the broader population's misunderstandings about the federal government. People don't like the government. They hate it, especially since the Reagan era. People have been anti-government and anti-taxation for that reason. I mean, Americans have always been anti-tax, but at least like when you compare it to European countries, like nobody likes to pay taxes, but at least in European countries with more expansive social safety nets, there's this collective understanding that like the money that you're giving back to the government is going to something that will inevitably help you down the line or help others down the line. We don't have that mentality here because the government has never worked in this country, or at least we have completely lost our confidence in the government ever doing something right by us. Okay? And decades of neoliberalism have ruined the federal government in its entirety. There's no concept that like the money that you're giving back to the IRS that is going into the government coffers are actually going to fix the potholes or fix education, right? Or improve your infrastructure, improve your access to the internet, improve your internet bandwidth. None of that is a thing that we believe anymore. We just notice that everything is getting worse and worse all around us, right? And we think to ourselves, well, fuck this, fuck these guys. These are corporatist elites. Break their backs. And when someone comes along and says, I'm the guy who's going to break their backs, I'm your leader, I'm going to do it, yeah, people think it's good. What they fail to recognize, however, is that Donald Trump is breaking the government in a way that will harm people, okay? This is my disagreement. So the popularity or the popular perception of Trump's policies right now does not change this dynamic for me at all. I am very well aware of it. And it is my job, I think, as a political commentator to explain why these policies are harmful to the broader American public. And that's what I do every day. But in terms of right-wing sentiment becoming more and more popular in spaces like this one, okay, that is, or at least like content creators pushing right-wing sentiment, is because of social perception. Unless they personally had a change of heart that dramatically changed everyone's opinions, including Amaranth, right? They're farming. That's all I was saying. It's a concept that everybody understands. It's called grifting. It's called farming. There are a lot of right-wing content creators out there. There are a lot of right-wingers out there that want to hear from right-wing content creators. It doesn't take too much to say the right-wing things that people will immediately give you positive feedback on. And that's precisely the reason why people do it. It's a grift. It's a concept that XQC understands very well. I think he literally says, I have grifted to the left for years and years and years. So I think he probably understands that, right? Or perhaps maybe he thinks you can only grift to the left, which is hilarious because very clearly it's much easier to grift to the right. If I were to be a grifter and these weren't my genuine opinions that I've defended for a decade now, I would probably become a right-winger and just, you know, get a kick contract. It's not that hard.
People voted for Trump. Okay. Bro, regardless of what we were saying, okay, look at the amount of votes. Men saying it. The general population feels this way, but then the general population votes a different way. And you're like, well, I think you're just wrong. I mean,
I do think they're wrong. I think they're wrong. If tomorrow there was a vote to say we should enslave all black people and the democratic process went through, black people are 13% of the population and people were, you know, all these Americans voted for that, I would say it's wrong, right? And it's not even just slavery, but the reason why I'm using slavery as an example is because that was the general sentiment for the longest time. Like, even during the civil rights movement, in the aftermath of Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, his disapproval rating was at 66%. He was overwhelmingly unpopular in the eyes of Americans. Many decades later, after a decent amount of whitewashing about his past, about his ideological leanings, now Martin Luther King is incredibly popular as a historical figure. My point is, it doesn't necessarily matter what the wishes of the masses are. Having said that, however, okay, my point is that I also do suspect that down the line, once Trump's, evisceration of the administrative state comes to fruition and people start noticing that the government is simply not working at all, even like the remaining parts of the government that used to work is not working, and the American quality of life is truly worse, then they will get resentful and angry. That's it. This has happened historically with all kinds of policy, for the record. This is not unique to Donald Trump in general. After all, one of the greatest examples I can point to is abortion. Many Americans that said that they were on board with restricting abortion very quickly turned around and said, oh my God, we were wrong. We actually don't want to limit abortion that much. We just want to limit abortion this much. Like they basically clawed back and directly democratically voted by overwhelming numbers whenever it was presented as an option on a ballot to restore and enshrine abortion protections in their state constitutions. So why did they do that in states that overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, for example? They did that because a lot of people don't understand the immediate impact of policy until it actually harms them. until it hurts them. Okay? Yeah, buyer's remorse.
What are we talking about here? I'm confused. You cannot say the general population doesn't like this, and then the general population.
So much of my naysayers unironically just go, I didn't understand what he's saying. I'm confused, but you must be wrong. You're arguing against a position that I have not presented. I'm not saying that Donald Trump's policies right now are broadly considered unpopular. But yeah, I don't think you understand.
Vision votes for somebody to be in office that holds those views. So who are you talking to? Like, who is the general population? Is it the residents of California? Is it the big cities' online personalities? Is it people that are on Facebook? Is it the Twitter Andes? No, stop saying the general population.
Also, especially in the United States of America, the majority opinion is not necessarily the majority of the voting public. And that's the other side of this as well, especially because of electoral college and many other reasons. Like the plurality of people, at least historically, the plurality of people don't vote. Yeah. 64% of the U.S. voted, and Trump won 49% of that vote. Exactly. But that doesn't matter either. Fair is fair. Trump fairly and squarely won the election. Okay, he did. Too big to rig, baby. He did.
This is what it is.
Really give a shit about politics. Too big to rig. And then he continues to talk about like Asmongold's perspective or something. I don't understand, but
I disagree. I think holding the view that is the more popular does give you the more popularity. I think like another little hint of projection. If you hold leftist views in areas that are very outrage heavy and leftist, you get a lot of notoriety and you get a lot of appraisal. And his takes are extremely popular and are always in the center of what public opinion likes. And he speaks loudly about what people like, and he's just gonna.
He's saying Asmongold takes extremely centrist positions on broadly popular sentiment. He reads the room and tries to hit the center of that room. I don't think this is correct either. Like Donald Trump, even right now, despite the fact that he won the election, is not like an overwhelmingly popular president. He's not. He is more popular than he has ever been. What? Hassan, your commentary is good, but you're asking for charitability for people who've been told you're evil to listen to you. That's why you got to show, not tell, so they can't ignore you. For example, here's a 90-second clip from Michael Moore's documentary that says the same thing that you're saying. A picture is worth 1,000 words.
That this country, which provides free health care for its people, nearly free daycare, also makes sure that the school lunches are fit for a king. I had to ask myself, how do the French afford all of this?
Europe, for the past 4 decades, has been raising taxes.
Very high income taxes. Some higher taxes.
They're sick of the high taxes.
Gerard Depardieu said, no more. I'm out of here. Here's how much the average working American pays in income and Social Security taxes, and those taxes get us the basic services. Police, fire, roads, water, war, and bank bailouts. And here's what the average French worker pays in taxes. A little more than we do. And for paying just a...
Also, the other thing I want to point to is that I am an advocate for certain things, certain policies, right? Certain policies that I believe will truly uplift the American working class. And the best example I can give you is obviously healthcare, right? I want a nationalized healthcare system, but I'll take socialized medicine in any capacity in the interim, in the short-term period. And that is a popular policy. That is a broadly, incredibly popular policy. Having said that, even if it wasn't, I would still advocate for it. I would still try to actively change the minds of as many Americans as I can to get them to understand that this is a good thing, that this is beneficial for them. Okay? Do you understand? It doesn't matter if it's like, it doesn't matter if Americans are running around saying like, nah, free healthcare is socialism. I don't want that. I'd rather die than get a communist doctor to fix my health problems or whatever. Like, I don't care if every American held that opinion. There are so many issues where I take a broadly, incredibly unpopular stance and then try to actively educate people on why this otherwise incredibly unpopular stance is actually the correct way to go about business. This is it. Like, this is what I do for most things. Most Americans think Nancy Pelosi is a socialist, think communism, socialism is a pejorative in and of itself, and they hate everything about the Democratic Party for what they imagine is radical politics coming out of the Democratic Party when they're fucking unimaginably close to the Republicans in both domestic affairs, but certainly when it comes to foreign policy. Okay? What's an example of an unpopular stance you have? I mean, Palestine is a great example of this, I would say, because for the past decade, I have been unconditionally and uncompromisingly pro-Palestinian. Until recently, the pro-Palestinian position was a non-starter for so many people, including progressives, right? Now, post October 7, the tide has shifted, at least for people under the age of 35, okay? But pre-October 7, it was not even a question. It was not even a question. Other unpopular stances that I have that I think were appropriate at the time was advocating for a ceasefire in Ukraine when Ukraine had more leverage. Like the initial ceasefire proposal that was put on the table that fell apart. Everybody yelled at me for that. They said I'm, pro-Putin. I'm in the pocket of Putin. There are plenty of issues that I have been on the unpopular side of that a lot of Americans have basically walked their way to arriving at. Housing the homeless, moving towards a rehabilitative approach to criminal justice, supporting unions, so much. American foreign policy, the entirety of the American foreign policy, I'm very critical of, and Americans are very much in support of American foreign policy. I think that right now, especially at this stage, my advocacy for immigrants is unimaginably unpopular. Americans are so right-wing on this issue, especially now. So most of the things that I advocate for, either people come to that conclusion later down the line. That's why I always say history will vindicate me. Or even if they come to that same conclusion down the line, they still hold their older resentments. Their resentment continues, even if they agree. This is a very rare sight. You were right about Ukraine, must begrudgingly admit, but I respect it. I respect people who are, brave enough to, not even brave enough, but open-minded enough to recognize that, A lot of Assange's general positions that would favor Americans are still contentious by both parties despite popular sentiment for those things, progressive ballot measure type stuff. Yes. One thing you said that blew my mind was to just document every immigrant. This will give more rights and help all immigrants, documented and undocumented. It would also help natural-born U.S. citizens as well. All right, let's continue.
A little bit more. They too get the basic services, but they also get all this extra stuff. We can get some of that stuff too, but we have to pay extra. And when we pay extra, we don't call it a tax. We call it tuition and daycare fees and the nursing home bill.
Yep.
And co-pays and deductibles and on and on and on.
But you see, when it's actually controlled by the government in the form of social safety nets, okay, the government has an incentive to keep those costs as low as possible, ironically enough. This makes it so that your wages don't have to be that high either. This also makes it so that your GDP is smaller overall in comparison to the expensive GDP of the United States of America. Okay? So even if American cost of living is unimaginably high due to the fact that we have a virtually anarcho-capitalist state and that all the money that we spend, all the money that we take from taxpayers, we just directly give back to corporations in the form of subsidies, and then those corporations don't actually lower prices all that much in return for that. All of that contributes to America being the wealthiest nation on earth. We're just cycling that money. But the problem is every nation cycles that money. It's just other countries distribute that money a little bit more evenly than the United States of America does. United States of America, on the other hand, distributes that money directly back to the top.
We don't call them taxes, but they are. And we pay a whole lot more than the French. One more thing. Every French paycheck has a detailed list of where their taxes are going, line by line. This is what our paycheck looks like. Other than Social Security and Medicare, it doesn't say a damn thing. Maybe if we saw where our income taxes were going, we wouldn't let Congress spend nearly 60% of it on this.
Yep. So yeah, an issue being popular or unpopular by the broader American public does not play a role in my personal opinion at all. And I think a lot of people don't understand this. This is a fundamental misunderstanding with my commentary in general. That's why I laugh whenever people say, "Oh, Hassan, you're grifting. Oh, Hassan, you're only adopting these positions because they're popular," when simultaneously they will readily admit that my positions are actually not broadly popular, and that people at a first glance, before they listen to me and I describe it to an audience that is charitable to hearing my opinion, my perspective, which is one that they either have A, never heard before, or B, have immediately contentious opinions on. But if they actually break through that mold, okay, if they break through that mold and listen to what I have to say without immediately assuming that I'm like lying to them or some shit, okay, or immediately assuming that I'm somehow grifting to this like simultaneously popular position, but that's also unpopular in general, okay, because I'm grifting to the left, I think that I will be able to convince them. But the underlying policy positions that I advocate for don't change. They don't change whether or not something is perceived as popular by the broader public.
Public opinion. So explain how that doesn't apply to him. Wait, no, they're not. They are extremely like public opinion glazing. What?
Yeah, that's the point. The overarching public opinion glazing doesn't change my advocacy at all. Whether it's incredibly popular or incredibly unpopular doesn't change the dynamic for me. I will talk about it. I will talk about why it's unpopular. I will explain to you why it should be more popular, how it will help you. But it's like I'm the one who is working to advocate here. I'm not as audience captured as what my naysayers assume me to be. That's why it's always funny when they're like, Hassan is so audience captured. It's like, dude, have you seen the broader fucking American consciousness when it comes to when it comes to like leftist opinions? Your ego is clouding your judgment. Admit you were wrong about Hamas, says young herpes. My ego is clouding my judgment. Admit I'm wrong about Hamas. I don't think you know the first thing about Israel-Palestine, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you. Your name is literally young herpes, dog. I don't know what more to say. Right-wing content creators have done irreparable harm to young men. Look at the massive difference in male-female voters for Die Linke AfD aged 18 to 24. Yeah, I know. It is very, 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 it is very, very scary. All right. Reporter, less than 1% of fentanyl comes into the U.S. That comes into the U.S. is apprehended at the Canadian border. Why use fentanyl as a reason? They should be apprehending much more.
Mr. President, less than 1% of all fentanyl that comes into the U.S. is apprehended at the Canadian border. So why use fentanyl as a reason?
Because they should be apprehending much more. They're only apprehending 1%. You're right about that. It's a little more than that. But they should be apprehending much more because a lot comes through Canada. And as Mexico gets stronger in terms of the border, it goes up to Canada. And a lot of drugs are coming in through Canada. We can't have that.
Yeah. It should be more. They're not apprehending enough. That's it. Yeah. Great stuff. It's actually breaking my brain to think about how he's misinterpreting that situation. Like there's a completely other level of dumbassery. Dude, this man just said a VAT tax is Trump aura draining. Nah, you don't understand. If you like him, he's owning the lib, so he's aura farming. Donald Trump is in the Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate camp. I assume partially because Barron Trump probably likes him or something. I mean, it makes sense. He's an Aiden Ross head too.
We have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States, and I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where...
Guys, after they took out Jeffrey Epstein, they needed a lower level Jeffrey Epstein, okay? It's simple. It's simple. I mean, you'd theoretically get a lot less hate if you didn't support terrorism and just admitted you were wrong. It's hard to support a group that kills babies. Brother, what are you talking about? Israel is the #1 baby killer on the fucking planet since the Rwandan genocide. Okay? What the fuck are you talking about? There has never been a moment where I have supported the #1 baby killer since the Rwandan genocide, which is Israel. What the fuck are you saying? Wake up, man. Wake up. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. I'm talking about Hamas parading around dead babies. I'm so awake. I'm just not woke. Hamas parading around dead babies is also a ridiculous... They did a funeral procession. That's what they did. That's what you're calling parading dead children. And they said that it was Israel that killed those children. Okay? And guess what? The Bibas family also does not appreciate that Benjamin Netanyahu is parading the Bibas family, the children that were slain, okay, without giving the Bibas family the actual autopsy report. What is more likely? That this family actually was slaughtered privately and quietly in the hands of Hamas, or Israel accidentally killed them as they have done and is lying about it? We don't know. We don't have evidence. The only evidence, quote unquote, that we have is the nation state that has literally done a genocide, also simultaneously has routinely lied about the hostages that they themselves have killed, only after numerous lawsuits have they had to reveal the true autopsy reports in the past for other Israeli hostages. Okay? I mean, strangled and their skulls crushed. Yeah. Benjamin Netanyahu literally, instead of giving the autopsy report to the family, turned around and paraded the autopsy report, which I doubt the veracity of at this stage, 100%. Okay? The Israeli government has used AI imagery to, talk about the children that died, okay? And you're over here talking about how, I know for a fact Hamas actually strangled them. Yeah, here it is. The Bibas family has threatened to sue the Israeli government for exploiting the deaths of their family members for propaganda purposes as layers of evidence support claims an Israeli airstrike killed them. And you're over here using dead children once again, this time dead Israeli children, which by your estimation, I suspect, has a higher value than dead Palestinian children. After all, you literally do not even recognize that Israel has killed more children in any global conflict since the Rwandan genocide, okay? And that is not even a thing in your mind. That doesn't even matter in your mind. It's just pure propaganda. That's it. Here it is. Bibas family tells Netanyahu to shut up as he details the murders of Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir. Publishing unapproved information is abuse for its own sake, says Ofri Bibas. Hours after Netanyahu publicly gives graphic details for the second time, despite this family's request. Israel kills aid workers, journalists, teachers, nurses, doctors, tortures doctors. Even if you don't care about them because they're Palestinian, Israel still does that. On top of all of that, Israel kills its own hostages, sometimes directly by shooting them in the back as they're waving a white flag because they thought that they were Palestinian. They thought that they were Palestinian civilians. Okay? Israel also blows up buildings where hostages are without any care for their well-being. This, if you were in any way, shape, or form remotely interested in learning about the truth, okay, or even a little bit knowledgeable, if you read any Israeli media in general, okay, you would know, bro, stop, you're speaking bullshit. Okay, dude, I know it feels bad. I know, I get it feels bad for you, okay? It feels bad to hear the truth after you have been conditioned to believe something else. Here's the Bibas family from 3 days ago. We appeal to a number of authorities, including the Prime Minister's office and the information system, to make it clear that the decision to publish any details about the gruesome murders is solely the decision of the family, and no pressure should be put on it to exploit the murder for alleged public purposes. Our request is also addressed to the entire public. Please do not participate or share in the race to publish difficult, offensive, and private details. Even in these painful times, The Bibas family and an entire nation are mourning the murder of their family members. And while the family is busy preparing for the funeral and burial of their deceased loved ones, and before the report from the Institute of Forensic Medicine was received, the family surprisingly continues to receive repeated requests from domestic political parties, media parties, and private parties for needs that are assumed to be explanatory, or with the aim of satisfying the public voyeurism and mainly publishing the details of the murders. All this despite the family's request to avoid harming her privacy and dignity. If you knew anything about this process and the conditions that these hostages were put through, Israeli hostages were put through, even Noah Argamani recently testified. Noah Argamani is by no means pro-Hamas, okay? Or by no means pro-Palestinian. She is an Israeli occupying force soldier who was captured by the militant resistance groups on October 7. She was held captive. Israel propagandized her all the time. Israel, when she was released, lied about her conditions and said Hamas actually broke her arm. She openly stated that the Israeli government was lying about what had taken place, that her biggest fear when she was held captive was actually Israeli bombings that killed one of the hostages that she was with. You would know that if you just got your fucking news from any outlet that actually cares about the truth. But you don't care about the truth, okay? You just care about shit stirring for a fucking psychopathic, drama-loving weirdo. I know Noah Argamani was at Nova, not active military. Wait, no, she is. No, she was. I thought she was IDF as well, regardless of being at Nova. She was captured at Nova. Now, I don't think this family thinks an Israeli airstrike killed the children, at least not based on this statement alone. No. The family, I don't know what the family's opinion is beyond what they have told so far. And what they've told is they do not have access to the forensic investigation. Okay? That's number one. Number two, families have actually sued the Israeli government. Families of slain IDF hostages, okay, have successfully sued the Israeli government since October 7 because the Israeli government has lied about how these hostages have died. Okay? I need you to understand this. Please, if your immediate family members are killed, you would probably care about the truth more than doing propaganda. Okay? That is what these victims want. And that is the most understandable demand of all time. It's crazy. Yeah, speaking of Noah survivors, they also sued the Israeli government for deliberately putting them in harm's way as well, allowing there to be a fucking rave next to a concentration camp when all evidence suggested that that concentration camp was slated to break out at any given moment. And they refused to listen to any prior warning from the Egyptian government and prior warnings from Unit 8200, which is the surveillance unit at the Gaza envelope that surveils Palestinian activity. But of course, you don't care about any of this stuff, but it's fine. I will sometimes respond to trolls before you chatters get mad, okay? Before chatters get mad and say, Hassan, why are you responding to trolls? Because this is informational, okay? This is a moment for a lot of people to learn the truth. It's not going to be the troll himself that actually goes, you know what? My bad. That rarely ever fucking happens because they're not in here. They're not in here to actually understand what truly is happening. They're in here to just shit stir. Okay? But it's a good moment for education. French MEP barred from Israel says Biba's family wasn't murdered, justifies Hamas attack. The Bibas family itself asked the Israeli authorities to stop commenting on the circumstances of the death of their loved ones, she said, arguing that they have not received official or any clear information on the reports communicated by the Israeli army. Okay? So yeah, the Bibas family itself also believe that that their family members were murdered by the guards. Okay? This still doesn't change anything in terms of having an independent forensic expert actually literally look at these autopsy reports. If they want justice to be served and if they actually want to know the truth, they can demand for it. If they don't demand for it, that's fine. Is it likely that this will happen? Probably not. But what is the reason for my assertion that Israel might be wrong about this or might be deliberately misinforming the public about this? Number one, there is a second phase of the ceasefire negotiation that Israel does not want to follow through on because this phase of the negotiation, the ceasefire, would make the ceasefire permanent, would move in the direction of permanent ceasefire, a permanent cessation of hostilities. Number two, Israel has routinely lied about every detail, every step of the way since October 7, but certainly before October 7 as well. As a matter of fact, it's easier to figure out the times when Israel hasn't lied about an issue. Okay? It always happens in the same exact way. Israel doesn't even talk about many of the death and destruction that they cause until it becomes a newsworthy story in the West, like the World Central Kitchen aid workers. Okay? And their first response is always immediately to lie. Immediately. They get disproven time and time again. Sometimes, if there are actual Israeli citizens that are victims to these lies, they have the capacity to sue the Israeli government, and then the truth is uncovered. The greatest example I can give you is quite literally the IDF hostage that was killed, whose mother demanded the truth from the Israeli government. The Israeli government said Hamas killed the hostage. Of course they did. They did. They were like, oh no, Hamas killed the hostage. What are you talking about? But the mother said that the asphyxiation was most likely caused by the bombing. And she kept suing the government. And lo and behold, Israel quietly admitted that Israeli occupying force hostage was actually killed because of Israeli bombing campaigns. Other hostages have talked about hostages that have died due to Israeli bombing campaigns. Hostages have talked about how their greatest fear was their own government blowing them up. And we're still having this conversation. We're still having this back and forth. It blows my mind. But this isn't the only reason why I think that the claims being made by the Israeli government might not be true. The other reasons why I think the claims being made by the Israeli government might not be true is because I don't believe that Hamas militants are the most moral people on the planet and are operating on this like unimaginable morality. Although Palestinian emancipation is the moral cause, individual actors are not always going to behave in this most moral fashion. That's not my argument at all. But they do still follow normal logic. Okay? They did not capture Israeli civilians and Israeli occupying force soldiers alike simply to go and kill them quietly. This is why since October 7, I've said over and over again, this is why I've said since October 7 over and over again that there is a reason for why they did this. It doesn't matter if you don't agree with the tactics or not. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay? The reason was obvious. It was leverage. They had demands. They're an entirely captive population that understandably felt like they had no other option but to fight back, to escape the conditions that they were in. They were forced into experiencing by the Israeli state that doesn't see them as human. Okay? And in that process, I kept repeating over and over again, if Hamas or any members of the Palestinian militancy kill any of the hostages, they will tell you. And they did. There was an instance where a Palestinian guard actually engaged in a revenge killing of a hostage. Hamas revealed that information. That did happen. There's also the other part of this process. Hamas has also killed hostages when Israel, during a ceasefire negotiation process, decided to militarily go and extract some hostages. Okay? And in the process, they did. They killed, I think, 4 hostages. They openly revealed this information as well. But not only that, but also, the Bibas family was slain in November of 2023. Okay? November 2023. And when they were killed in the process, and I believe that it was initially not even that they weren't captured by the Al-Qassam brigades. I believe that they were captured by some random group. And they had a hard time, obviously, under the bombing campaign that was happening, figuring out where every single hostage was and take accountability. Okay? Taking account of where all the hostages are. But as far as it was the Mujahideen movement. Yes, thank you, Murat Butler, that initially took the Bibas family hostage, the Mujahideen Brigade. In November 2023, Hamas revealed that the Bibas family had been slain in an Israeli bombing campaign. They also said that they would voluntarily send the bodies back to Israel In November 2023, in November 2023, okay, Israel said Hamas was playing politics. Think about that. I feel like that context is never really mentioned in this process. Why didn't they return the bodies? Israel refused. What are you talking about? When people fall for such sloppy propaganda, you know the illiteracy rate is abysmal. So there is a massive onslaught of Israeli propaganda that the Israeli Knesset has spent $250 million on this year. We know that Israel is not shy about lying about the details of things that have happened. So excuse me for being a little critical about the initial statements that come from Israel, especially when they have shown over and over again that they do not actually give a shit about Israeli citizens. Here's another point of Israeli propaganda or the Israeli government lying and then turning around and openly admitting that they did something. The Israeli military directive, the Israeli military has a protocol called the Hannibal directive. Okay? The Hannibal directive directs the soldiers to shoot and kill Israeli civilians or Israeli soldiers if they are in the process of being captured by Palestinian militants. Because in the eyes of the Israeli government, those people are better dead than alive. Because when they're alive, their immediate family members are going to create a lot of pressure on the Israeli government. And initially, on October 7, there were Israeli civilians that were in some of these little villages that stated that the Israeli government had actually opened fire on those villages and most likely killed some of the Israeli villagers inside of the kibbutzim. Well, we don't need to speculate about it any longer because the defense minister, the former defense minister, who was the defense minister during October 7, actually openly admitted to utilizing the Hannibal directive on October 7, a couple weeks ago. IDF carried out Hannibal directive, new sword of Damocles operation on October 7. All means are kosher. A look at the IDF's controversial Hannibal directive explainer. The Air Force was carrying out the Sword of Damocles operation, a code name only being revealed on Thursday for the first time, to attack many Hamas commanders in their headquarters around 10:30 a.m., October 7, 2023, just as it was carrying out the Hannibal directive of gunning down anything that moved around the Israel-Gaza border. This is from the Jerusalem Post. This is an outlet that is an ultra-Zionist outlet. The Jerusalem Post is famous for writing articles such as, well, southern Lebanon, more like northern Israel. Just so you understand, this ain't, the woke lords over at Haaretz. This is the fucking Jerusalem Post. The Air Force has been questioned about if the forces it had invested in attacking Hamas commanders deep in Gaza would have been better used to defend the Gaza border and to attack Hamas invaders in Israeli villages. And yes, it was reported at the time that Hamas had offered to hand over remains of the hostage baby and family. Okay, look, this was written about, wait, what? 1/12/2023. Oh, 12 December 1st, 2023. God damn it. Freaking Frenchman. Hamas on Friday said it offered to hand over the bodies of a mother and her two sons, one of them a baby, in talks to extend a now expired truth. Shiri Bibas, her 10-month-old son, Kafir, and his 4-year-old brother, Ariel, along with her father, Yarden, have become emblematic of the October 7 attacks due to the age of the baby, Kafir. Earlier this week, Hamas armed wing announced that Shiri, Kafir, and Ariel had been killed in an Israeli bombing before the now-lapsed truce went into effect, a claim Israel's military has said it's investigating but is yet to confirm. Hamas also offered to transfer the Bibas family bodies and release their father along for their burial, along with 2 Zionist detainees, it added. Israeli authorities remained unresponsive, it said. The Israeli Prime Minister's office, meanwhile, told the AFP Israel will not address propaganda-based reports coming from Hamas. As of Thursday, reports of the deaths of the 3 Bibas family members remain unconfirmed, according to the army spokesman Daniel Hagari. The army has previously said Hamas is wholly responsible for the security of all hostages, that we are literally bombing. We're bombing the hostages. The father did survive, yes. Government spokesman Aylan Levy, because the father was separated from the mother and the children. Obviously, you can't separate the children from the mother, but the father was separated. Most of them civilians, according to Israeli officials. Israel's ensuing war, and this was literally in December of 2023, has killed more than 15,000 people, also mostly civilians, according to Hamas-run government in Gaza. These are the reasons as to why I am critical of the Israeli government's propaganda on this, and I am suspicious because I recognize Israel's motivations. I also recognize that Israel has, time and time again, lied about how hostages have been killed. You are lying. You can't. Wait, what? Yeah. I wonder if young herpes has a response to any of this shit. Probably not. It's really hard to learn the fucking truth and to question authority. I know. I get it. It's much easier for you to look at these ongoing atrocities and basically talk about it from the perspective of drama between content creators. Okay? They're probably being sarcastic. No, young herpes was not being sarcastic. He was just saying some dumb shit. He probably got banned. Yeah. Blake McGrew banned them. Here, we'll unban them and we'll hear what he has to say now. I think I've had a fairly moderate perspective, which is why it's also funny when people yell at me about this shit. Okay? We welcome young herpes back into the community with open arms, with hopes that he will maybe be a little bit more reasonable about it. It's a great moment for young herpes to learn something instead of just regurgitating falsehoods. Anyway, breaking: far-right extremist and notorious racist Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich to meet with the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent next Wednesday in Washington. The meeting is expected to focus on economic cooperation in Israeli settlements. We're strengthening the ties. The working relations, said Smotrich's spokesperson, Eitan Fold. A key member of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition, Smotrich is a vocal proponent of apartheid in Israel and Palestine. He advocates for the expulsion of Palestinians from their homeland and the reoccupation of Gaza, supporting what he calls voluntary migration of Palestinians. He's Mr. AFD. As minister in charge of civilian affairs in the West Bank, he oversees policies that further entrench Israel's illegal occupation while pushing for the full annexation of the West Bank and the removal of all Palestinians. His rhetoric and actions fuel settler violence and further erode any chances of peace. This meeting marks a shift as Biden kept Smotrich and far-right extremists at an arm's length. It follows Trump's decision on his first day in office to lift sanctions on violent Israeli settlers accused of crimes against Palestinians. Here are some of his choice quotes. We will erase their smile again and replace it with with cries of grief. Gaza is destroyed and broken, uninhabitable, and it will remain so. Do not be impressed by the forces' cries of joy of our enemies. This is an animalistic society which sanctifies death and dances on the ruins of its life. Very soon, we will erase their smile and replace it with cries of grief and the wails of those who were left with nothing. Fantastic stuff. They're Nazis, okay? That's it. It's that simple. When there is no information, however, in Western news about the ways in which Israel's depraved government behaves identically to the fucking Nazi government of the past, okay, a lot of people are misinformed by it. And in that misinformation, if someone presents themselves as pro-Palestinian, but then does unrestricted pro-Israel propaganda by not necessarily saying like what Israel is doing is super right, but instead by simply attacking. All of his commentary focuses on naysayers of Israel, criticizers of Israel, by attacking them and saying they're all terrorists, you know? They're fucking mindless drones. The fan base will come in here and also push this ridiculous bullshit. Anyway, Andrew Cuomo seen as possible White House candidate by some Democrats is great stuff. Fantastic. And the newly installed FBI director, Kash Patel, has proposed enhancing the FBI's ranks with the help from United Fighting Championship, UFC, the martial arts entertainment giant whose wealthy CEO Dana White helped boost President Trump's election. Also fantastic. We'll get to Andrew Tate in a second. We got the Epstein files as well. Andrew Tate obviously is frustrating to some. Okay.
To the latest on the Trump.
Jesus, that's loud. Okay. Trump administration directs agencies to make plans for mass layoffs. I saw a Substack post where a fan asserted that mods of pro-Palestine subs are secretly jihadists. Yeah, I mean, that right there is just straightforward Islamophobic nonsense, okay? That's it. Even just simply saying like, oh, you're a terrorist, like you're pro-Palestine, you're a terrorist, and here are the reasons why. That right there is no different than what like ultra-Zionists say either. You know, maybe you're not taking the extra mile. Maybe you're not taking the initiative. Maybe you're not brave enough to openly say how you really feel, how you truly feel. It's like when Republicans call black people thugs, okay, rather than the N-word. Everybody understands exactly what it is, okay? Virtually everyone with 3 active brain cells knows exactly what's going on. So why the fuck do you not recognize it if you fancy yourself to be a progressive, if you fancy yourself to being to being an active member of a otherwise progressive pro-Palestinian community? It is psychotic. That's all this is. The utilization of the American terror watch list for your commentary is fucking idiotic, okay?
Trump administration's effort to reshape the government and downsize the federal workforce. Agencies are now facing a deadline to submit plans to restructure their operations. Our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, is at the White House for us this morning. Good morning, Rachel.
Michael, good morning to you. And federal agencies and workers across the country are now bracing for mass layoffs as the Trump administration moves into its next phase of its efforts to try to shrink the size of the federal government. This morning, the Trump administration directing all federal agencies to submit plans.
Yes, I know the judiciary GOP is rickrolling people. It's much ha-has, very funny. Yes, yes. And even the you know, people who want to know about the Epstein list are angry about it. I know, because they don't give a shit. Because the real Epstein list features a bunch of prominent Republicans as well. Pedophilia, much like American foreign policy, is uniparty, okay?
For large-scale layoffs and restructuring by March 13th.
We're cutting down government. We're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy.
Thousands of probationary workers have already been fired. The president saying the Environmental Protection Agency could cut 65% from its workforce.
We're going to speed up the process, too.
Some agencies have reversed course. One day after the Department of Veterans Affairs cut $2 billion in contracts, the department reversing some cancellations that may have affected medical care and benefits for veterans, including safety inspections at VA medical facilities and supporting cancer programs. But the president has told billionaire Elon Musk to be more aggressive, inviting him to his first official cabinet meeting, surrounded by all his secretaries, asking Musk to speak first.
So I'm going to ask if it's possible to have Elon get up first and talk about DOGE.
Sources say some in the president's cabinet were caught off guard when he ordered federal workers to respond to an email listing 5 things they accomplished last week or lose their job. Trump almost daring those officials to speak up.
Hey, Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw him out of here.
Several cabinet members pushed back on that ultimatum from Musk, telling the workers they didn't have to respond. The president saying those who didn't are still at risk of losing their jobs.
They are on the bubble.
Musk warning employees can expect another email to go out. ABC's Mary Bruce asking him just how many federal workers he wants gone.
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
The Department of Government Efficiency is claiming $65 million in savings, but that's not verifiable. They haven't provided all the receipts. Democrats slamming the administration's efforts.
What this really is just an effort to denigrate and demean people who are working hard. Some have worked as a career in the service of the country.
As he looks to make those sweeping cuts, the Washington Post reports Musk and his businesses have received at least $38 billion in government funding. ABC News confirming SpaceX and Tesla were awarded at least $18 billion in federal contracts. So today, the president is expected to meet with the Prime Minister of the UK, who is expected to urge Trump to continue to support Ukraine. Many of our allies were caught off guard when the president initiated these peace talks, starting with Russia first. But perhaps no one was more surprised than Ukrainian President Zelensky. He is expected to travel here to Washington.
Guys, you don't understand. No conflict of interest, please. Don't say it. Don't say that there's a conflict of interest.
To meet with the president tomorrow to finalize that minerals deal. And all of this, George, it's still unclear what concessions the president will ask Russia to give up, George.
Okay, Rachel, thanks very much.
Speaker Johnson, you had quite a night last night and ended up meeting with President Trump and the majority leader over in the Senate, John Thune, today. Do you think
anger protesters have been seen at GOP town halls? Here's who the Speaker of the House says is responsible. AIPAC promotes new merch. A John Fetterman edition hoodie sells for $45. We're one of our favorite quotes of the past year, AIPAC says on the hoodie, featuring a quote from Senator Fetterman, who literally does not know how to speak. Hamas supporters, your views. Hamas supports your views. When Hamas supports your views, it's time to reevaluate your core values. I mean, what's the difference between this and fucking what Ethan Klein says, by the way? Straight up. Okay. Update. AIPAC has removed their new John Fetterman-inspired hoodie from their website. AIPAC also deleted the LinkedIn post promoting it. Ethan Klein is based, yeah. What? A majority also viewed Hamas as corrupt. Despite this perception, many were fearful of criticizing the group openly. Wiki. In October 2018, Human Rights Watch released a report detailing how both the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority in the West Bank and Hamas authorities in Gaza routinely arrest and torture peaceful critics and opponents, as opposed to the wonderful state of Israel, which, by the way, the Human Rights Watch literally right now considers is doing a fucking genocide. Like, what a funny thing to bring up NGOs that actively have been yelling about Israel doing a fucking genocide. That's what it is. That's what's so, that's fantastic. Maybe you should read more fucking, maybe you should read more of their resources if you rely on them so much. I can't believe that by the way, Fatah-led Palestinian Authority is really funny because the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority is just more Israel, okay? It is literally a part of the Israeli security apparatus. So if they're actually torturing people, that's just more Israeli torture of people in the West Bank, which is occupied Palestinian territory that is occupied by fucking Israel. Insults? Great, that's intelligence. No, don't listen to other chatters. Don't try to fucking use that as an exit ramp. Respond to my words directly. Musician Tom. What happened? The Palestinian Authority is a part of the Israeli security apparatus. They routinely torture people for suspecting them of being anti-Israeli dissidents, the Palestinian people that they torture, okay? And they offer targets to assassinate for Israel to go in and assassinate. I have major problems with the Israeli state. I've raised money for Palestinian hospitals. I am simply against Hamas. Wow, wonderful, dude. I love that. Yeah. Is this Ethan Klein's alt account? Is that what's going on? Hey, remember, guys, I've given $6,500 to Hassan's fundraiser that he did for the Palestinians, even though I was fearful that it might go to Hamas. I am simply against Hamas. Great position, man. Okay, great. If you don't want Hamas to rule Gaza, guess what? End the occupation. The fuck? Who do you think has? You realize both can be evil? Okay, let's say both are evil. I'm a lesser evil voter, dog. I'm voting for Hamas every time. If it's Hamas versus Israel, Hamas is the lesser evil. Killed way less children, okay? Killed way less civilians. The soldier versus civilian deaths in the hands of Hamas on October 7 is nothing in comparison to the soldier versus civilian deaths that Israel has brought about the entire Palestinian population. Israel is also simultaneously invading the West Bank and hasn't really stopped invading the West Bank. It already occupies the West Bank, but the Bantustans that they've carved out after settler colonial terrorism that they've enacted upon the Palestinian population in direct contravention of international law, they've decided to actually kill more Palestinians and forcibly displace more Palestinians. Okay? You realize both can be evil. You're not making a fucking brilliant point here, okay? Yes, the tactics of the people that have been absolutely destroyed by the settler colonial country that is dominating every aspect of their lives are going to be brutal. But that brutality, if you know anything about the evolution of Palestinian resistance and Palestinian militancy, if you know anything about that evolution, you would understand that it has evolved to become more violent as Israel has increased its violence. Just simply saying, oh, you realize both can be evil, it's not either or, is an idiotic statement. You're not actually making any sort of statement. There were better Palestinian political leaders. Some are still in prison. I support them being freed. Yeah, you know who else supports them being freed? Fucking Hamas. That's right. Hamas. You agree with Hamas, I guess, because that's exactly what Hamas also wants. Also, what prison are they in? Are they in Hamas prison or are they in Israeli prison? Oh, that's right. They're in fucking Israeli prison. Sometimes a broken clock tells the right time. Yeah. If you were to look at that clock, you would realize that it was broken by Israel. Hamas wants war. It legitimizes their existence. Oh, man. Yeah, totally. They love getting fucking murked over and over again. They're just violent, barbaric individuals who love the death and destruction. They love it. Like Yahya Sinwar, he was like, oh, I hope I fucking die to tank shells. That's my favorite thing, is dying. Like, what kind of fucking idiotic proposition is this? No, man, when people are pushed into a fucking corner for 75 goddamn years, 76 years now, okay, about to be 77, and with no way out of it, yeah, they try to fight out of that corner. That's why I said all of the cards are held by Israel. I love the supposedly pro-Palestinian guys who come in here and try to fucking argue with me on this stuff. If you don't want Hamas, then you can't advocate for anything that Israel does. You have to understand that Israel, both directly and indirectly, has supported Hamas, while also simultaneously killing every other secular leadership for the Palestinians, assassinating them, even if they didn't touch a single weapon ever. Okay? They thought they could control at least the Western support. There are other Palestinian political movements that need our support. Okay, great. Sure, I agree. What's up? What do you mean? You didn't come in here with that energy. Also, you literally are talking about the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority. You don't know anything. You're over here talking about both the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority, not realizing that the fucking Palestinian Authority is also a part of the Israeli security apparatus. You literally are just saying all of the leadership that Palestinian Arab dogs are electing into power are actually very harmful to Palestinian emancipation. Well, guess what? The other Palestinian political movements also participated alongside Hamas on October 7. What do you have to say to that? Literally all of them. The PFLP, DFLP, Islamic Jihad, they all fucking participated on October 7. Supporting Hamas distracts from this. I'm sure you care about Palestinians. I know this hurts because of the immense suffering. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything. There is not a single Palestinian emancipatory group that did not participate in October 7. It was a united front. Every single one of them. So which one do you choose to work with? Do you know any of the other factions within the Palestinian emancipatory movement? Do you know the history that regardless of the tactics, every single one of them have been branded terror groups by Israel and then immediately by the United States of America? You don't understand. I just want peace. Like, no, you just want to fucking shelter your feelings. Okay? I get it. It's terrifying for you to even in any shape or form, to quote unquote hand it to any Palestinian militancy. You don't want to do that. I get it. Okay. Oh my Lord. He's still talking about Marwan Barghouti. Okay. The United Palestinian Resistance that took hostages led by Hamas are literally using the Israeli hostages as a leverage point to bargain for Marwan Barghouti's release. So you literally are saying you fucking love Hamas, okay? That's what you're saying. If Hamas loves war and simply wants to remain in power, like your assertion is prior, and that's why they're doing all of this stuff, right? And they love being killed, then why the fuck are they advocating for the release of the one guy, the only person in Palestinian politics right now that could democratically overthrow Hamas? Why? Not by these means. We must be better. Okay, bro, go fly out there and you fucking tell them how to resist, you know? Otherwise, we become what we hate. No, dog, you would never have this fucking attitude if I were to ask you about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising or the ANC, okay? Or the Algerian Revolution. Or the IRA. Well, you might have it about IRA because a lot of British people are fucking annoying about it. Okay? I don't see you there. I've been in the Middle East helping refugees. I don't see you there. Yeah, dude. Well, maybe I paid your fucking salary to go help them then. Dumbass. Shut the fuck up. I don't see you there. You know why I can't go there? Because I get fucking killed, okay? Anyone that wants to go there will get killed. You would get killed if you went there, dumbass. The fuck are you talking about? My assertion there was purely rhetorical. I wasn't expecting you to actually go to Gaza because you'll get fucking killed. And not by Hamas, mind you, by Israel, before people misunderstand. Yes, killed by Israel. That is the reason why people can't go in to Gaza right now. That is the reason why Western journalists can't go into Gaza right now. Okay? Because they will be fucking killed by Israel. Anyway, let's continue. Yes. 2024 was the deadliest year for journalists with 124 reporters killed. Committee to Protect Journalists says, I wonder who killed them. About 2/3 of them were Palestinians who were killed by Israel during its war against Hamas. Yeah. There is nothing dumber than living in the fucking comfortable bosom of empire and being like, people that have been ritualistically dominated and genocided, I am going to set their standards. Okay? I might have my disagreements with the domestic affairs of the militant resistance against Israeli apartheid. I might have disagreements with their tactics, but I'm not going to sit here and spend an insane amount of time being like, well, I think there's a better way possible when all other options have been consistently exhausted. It's so fucking stupid. And they also never actually point to like the better way possible. Like the irony there with musician Tom or whatever the fuck his name is that he talked about Marwan Barghouti, who has been in Israeli prison for decades now. Okay? For fucking decades. Like at no point does he realize that like Israel doesn't give a fuck about any of this shit. Okay? Well, I respect you for responding to me at least. I've been at gunpoint before. Great, man. Okay. I'm so happy for your bravery. Like, what do you think? You think like people haven't asked Israel to stop gently, peacefully? They have. You know what Israel's response was during the Great March of Return in 2018? They fucking shot all of the civilians that were peacefully marching. Okay? And then the Israeli government flexed on it too. They literally, the IDF's own Twitter account openly was like, every bullet was accounted for. And then they were like, oh, oopsie, this is actually a bad look because we shot the kneecaps off of children. We shot women in wheelchairs. We shot nurses. Perhaps we shouldn't admit to intentionally maiming nurses. And then they deleted the tweet. Give the power to the Christian Palestinians and there will be a better chance for peace. Yeah, if you knew anything about Palestinian resistance, you would know that there have been a metric ton of Christian Palestinians that have been in leadership roles, and Israel has fucking assassinated them too, sometimes in Lebanon. So shut the fuck up. It's so stupid. The problem is not Islam either here, okay? The problem is, the major problem is there's living room there and Israel wants it. Like people think that the Palestinian militancy was always led by Hamas. That is not the case, okay? 1978, Hamas was a fucking Islamic charity, a Muslim Brotherhood cutout. They didn't even become a political party. They didn't even become a militant resistance group until the 90s. Okay? Shut the fuck up. Yes, 1987 is when they 1988 is when they put forth their first charter as a political party, and it had a bunch of anti-Semitic shit in it too, for sure. But they never really abided by the charter regardless. And then they updated it in 2016 or 2017, if I'm not mistaken, in order to get, because they foolishly thought that the Western world would be more understanding of their reasonable fucking demands at the time, which was an end to the occupation. That's it. That's the only thing that people want. Okay? IDF ran over an American citizen attempting to stand up peacefully, and she was a white American girl, and her nonviolence activism got her crushed by an armored bulldozer. Some of these chatters are living in a fucking fairy tale world. Yeah. The Israeli government invited World Central Kitchen to do propaganda. Okay? That's what happened. World Central Kitchen does great work. But the Israeli government brought forward World Central Kitchen to do propaganda to say, oh, look at us. We're actually helping the Palestinians, to avoid the rest of the NGOs saying, oh my God, you're denying humanitarian aid from going into Gaza. You're killing these people. You're starving them. But because of their disorganized, chaotic, genocidal ambitions, they fucking killed, after engaging in deconfliction, they killed the entire convoy of World Central Kitchen aid workers that Israel had brought into the Gaza Strip after the World Central Kitchen aid workers had directly communicated with the Israeli government on where they were going. Okay? What are you saying? Israel has killed Israeli civilians. Israel has killed Israeli soldiers. Israel has killed Israeli hostages. They don't give a fuck about anything. I cannot believe, like, I don't know, maybe people just recently got interested in this stuff. Maybe is that what it is? Like, where are these people coming from? What? I know you're not anti-Semitic, but consistently breezing over it misses a lot of the reason why Israel's okay with straight up geno. The fuck do you mean? I think that is completely unacceptable. What are you talking about? Like, what? I know you're not anti-German, but consistently breezing over why the concentration camps were built to begin with misses a lot of the reason why Nazi Germany is okay with the Holocaust. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Yeah. I can't believe that someone has the fucking audacity to do genocide apologia. 2 questions. Hassan, please educate me because I don't see you talk about it a lot. Genuine questions. What do you think / claim Israel wants to do? What do you think is the solution? Also, how do you think this genocide will end? What do you mean? I think Israel wants to wipe out as many of the Palestinians as possible and then slowly but surely rebuild settlements in the Gaza Strip and turn the Gaza Strip back into the West Bank, overtake larger parts of the West Bank, and also completely destroy any sort of Palestinian existence in the region. They just want all of it. And inevitably, they will move on to other parts of greater Israel. They will move on to southern Lebanon. They have already moved on to a larger part of southern Syria. Okay? They already have. Just because they don't talk about it, just because we don't talk about it in Western news doesn't change that reality. Israel has already overtaken large swaths of southern Syria, as a matter of fact. They just want all the Palestinians to fucking die or make it so that they just cannot live at all. False, the Jews weren't killing Germans before the Holocaust? What are you talking about? Yes, it is a fucking... Do you not understand the comparison I'm making? Yes, I don't agree with the Nazis. I'm saying that they fucking lied. What? No, Jewish people did not kill Germans, and then that's the reason why Germany had real security concerns. That's just a lie that the German government told at the time. That's the lie that the Nazi party told. The fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, this chat is entertaining because so many stupids. All right, let's get back to the angry protesters seen at GOP town halls.
Think that the Senate is going to make big changes to what you passed last night?
No, I don't think they will. I think they understand the necessity of letting the House lead on this. We've got a smaller margin than they do for the first time in the modern era. The Senate Republicans have a larger margin than we do in the House, and I've got a much smaller needle to thread here. And I think they recognize that. I got 165 more personalities to deal with than they do and a much more diverse caucus. So Senator Kennedy's one of my closest friends. I love his one-liners, okay? But I think what he was referring to there in that soundbite, Caitlin, is that he doesn't want to cut Medicaid benefits for anybody, and we don't either. I don't either. We're not going to do that. That's not part of this plan, and the Democrats have been lying about it, and so it's important for us to clarify that. That's what I think he was referring to. We're going to take care of those who are rightful beneficiaries of the programs. We're going to cut the fraud, waste, and abuse out of Medicaid, and that's where we're going to get part of the savings to accomplish this mission.
But are people who are covered by Medicaid now going to potentially lose Medicaid coverage as a result of this?
No, look, the White House has made a commitment. The president said over and over and over, we're not going to touch Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. We've made the same commitment. Now, that said, what we are going to do is go into those programs and carve out the fraud, waste, and abuse and find efficiencies. Couple of examples. You know, there's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No.
That fraud is not coming from individuals. It's coming from providers. They're not tackling providers. They're not actually going after like false billing. They are trying to cut recipients. Okay. It is not happening at the point of recipients. If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Okay. You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott. You wouldn't make him the current, what is his current office? What is he? He's the Richard Lynn Scott is an American attorney, businessman, politician, Navy veteran, serving as the senior United States Senator from Florida, a seat he has held since 2019. And also, I believe this past election cycle, he was literally the fucking head of the, what was it, like the Senate committee or something? Like the Republican fundraising initiatives. The reason why I'm saying if you cared about Medicare or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott is because, and not make him a prominent part of the Republican Party, is because he, to this day, is still also known as committing the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history. They want to cut SNAP. They want to cut Medicaid. They want to cut the funding of Medicaid. They want to make it harder for people to receive Medicaid. They don't want to actually go after the medical providers or the insurance companies or the nursing homes that are lining their pockets with major donations. Those are the people who actually engage in the fraud. It's not your uncle that's like lying about their condition and stealing money from the government by, you know, going to the doctor or whatever.
No one's for that. We've got to make sure we eliminate it. We have the algorithms now to do that. We have advanced technology to find it. We need to provide identification for people who are Medicaid recipients to make sure they are not illegal aliens. That's another big carve-out that we will make to save a lot of money. There are a lot of places to find efficiencies in these programs and ensure they're going to the people they're intended to help.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, these programs aren't going to remain solvent, and so that's a big part of the equation here.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you talk about waste, fraud, and abuse that you're going to look at instead of making cuts elsewhere. But last year, between Medicaid and Medicare combined, there was about $100 billion in improper payments. Now, no one is excusing that or fraud or any waste and abuse, but you're looking for much larger than that. So where is the other $780 billion going to come from?
Well, look, we're talking about cuts that are in the range of $2 trillion, but you're also talking about the whole of the federal government. We're going to involve 11 different committees of jurisdiction in this process. So all this attention is being paid to Medicaid because that's the Democrats' talking point. We're talking.
It's not a Democrat's talking point. That's where a lot of the money is, and you want to cut it. It's just what is happening.
About a massive piece of legislation that looks at all of the fraud, waste, and abuse across the government and looks at programs that we do need to eliminate that isn't talking about health care for people that are relying upon that. Look, everybody needs to watch the process play out. We passed the budget resolution last night. It is merely a...
Also, I wish that was a Democrat talking point. How sad. Think about how much we have devolved in American politics. Like, it's not even a Democrat talking point. Like, some Democrats talk about it. You know, you got Greg Kazar, AOC. There's a couple Democrats who like come out and pop off about it, but I wish it was a fucking Democrat talking point, you know? The level of resistance is so bad by the Democratic Party that it's not even a fucking Democrat talking point.
Framework to set up.
Democrats are too busy trying to, Democrats are too busy trying to set up Andrew Cuomo as the next mayor of New York because God forbid the DSA back like socialist adjacent anti-Zionist Zoran actually becomes the mayor. That would be terrifying. Democrats are also too busy, prosecuting children for being pro-Palestine. That's what they're doing. They're also courting Silicon Valley tech CEOs to say, I promise when we get back in power, we will give you the same level of access that Trump has given to Elon Musk and these other right-wing billionaires. That's what the Democrats are doing right now. Democrats are also doing this. You know what they're doing? Aside from Cuomo seen as possible White House candidate by some Democrats, aside from running for New York mayor, where's the other thing that the Democrats are doing? Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I retweeted it earlier today. If you want to understand where the Democratic Party's attitudes are, where they're going, okay, here, this is who they picked to represent the party and respond to Trump's speech. Eliza Slotkin. She was the first Democrat ever endorsed by Liz Cheney, voted for the Laken Riley Act, which is the, if you suspect a person who is brown, who happens to be undocumented of doing a crime, they can be deported instantly act, okay? Which is a violation of the Constitution anyway, violates due process, empowering Trump to detain people without due process, and is a top Democratic voter of Trump's cabinet. Okay? As a senator, one of 12 Democrats who voted for the anti-migrant Laken Riley Act that empowers Donald Trump's ICE to detain people without due process, voted for 8 of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees while his administration dismantles the entire government. As a House member, she was one of 62 Democrats who joined 148 Republicans to express disgust at South Africa's International Court of Justice suit accusing Israel of genocide, and to praise the White House spokesperson John Kirby, calling the case meritless, counterproductive, and completely without basis in fact whatsoever. Eliza Slotkin also voted for the TikTok ban and the forcible sale bill. Eliza Slotkin opposed student debt assistance on a vote supported by 93% of her caucus. Eliza Slotkin voted against 85% of her caucus on whether the U.S. should even study the impact of its sanctions on other countries. Eliza Slotkin, as a House member, voted to overturn locally enacted criminal justice and voting rights reforms in Washington, D.C. As a House member, she voted against 94% of her caucus to bar security clearance from anyone who has used cannabis. On the UAW strike, Eliza Slotkin from Michigan, by the way, remember that's pretty significant. She said, you can't let a perfect deal be the enemy of a good deal. Okay? She doesn't care about her own constituents. She doesn't care about her own caucus. She is a light Republican. And that is the person that the Democratic Party is tasked with responding to Donald Trump. Former CIA, of course. Yeah. She voted and I'm not done yet. Elisa Slotkin, as a House member, voted with Republicans against a bill banning U.S. aid to Saudi Arabia's war on Yemen. Remember? Bernie wanted a veto on aiding Saudi Arabia because they were doing a fucking genocide in Yemen. Remember that? As a House member, she also voted against a bill to remove U.S. troops from Syria. And also, she's a CIA agent, or was a CIA agent. I guess you don't really ever quit being a CIA agent. It doesn't work that way. It's great. America is a real democratic country. There's so much democracy. Look at all of our beautiful options. Oh my God, I can't understand how Donald Trump won the election. Oh my God, he's destroying the administrative state. What are the Democrats doing in this process? Oh, just voting for his cabinet picks and not really saying anything about it and kind of showing their bellies, waiting for the opportune moment to farm you for fucking campaign contributions once again, hoping that you recognize the harm that the Republicans have done and be fearful enough to, expect the Democrats to at least win a majority in the House or the Senate during the midterms so they can obstruct the Republican agenda. Well, there won't be an agenda remaining by the time the midterms come around if Donald Trump keeps bouldering over the administrative state like this anyway. Why are the Democrats doing this? Don't they want to win? No, dude, they don't. Okay? They don't. They just want your fucking donations, and they want to maintain the same corporate hegemony. They want to, because they're funded by the same exact corporations that the Republicans are funded by, they want to look like they're marginally better than the Republican Party by saying, hey, we're pro this, we're pro that the Republicans are not in favor of. Hey, we don't want to kill trans people, but also we won't do anything to fucking defend trans people. And maybe we defended trans people too much. We should also kill trans people. We're better than the Republican Party. We care about undocumented migrants. This is a nation of immigrants. Also, when we're in charge, we won't do shit about the undocumented migrants. We won't actually push for amnesty or anything. God forbid. Their strategy is quite literally do nothing and expect W's. James Carville openly said this, by the way. The best thing Democrats can do in this moment is to roll over and play dead. That's what James Carville said. Yeah, we stand for nothing. We won't do anything. Yeah. But hey, we're marginally better. Yeah. The stand for nothing and not do anything party is still marginally better than we want to fucking kill you party. Okay. And then every single goddamn liberal that is unconditionally loyal to the Democratic Party that does not care about their fucking well-being whatsoever will forget all of the instances where the Dems didn't do shit, okay, stood idly by and let the Republican roll over the entire administrative state, will come into my chat and be like, Hassan, sweetie, are you telling me that the Democrats are not marginally better? Not realizing that year over year, the marginally better position is basically just, the Republican position from fucking 4 years ago. That is precisely what happened with Kamala Harris's idiotic campaign.
What will come the reconciliation process? It's going to take us 5 or 6 weeks probably to dig through all those details and come up with the final proposal. So everybody just reserve judgment, watch us work, and you'll like the final product. I'm very excited about the moment that we're at.
You say Democrats are lying when they say you're going to cut Medicaid. The plan that you passed does instruct the House Energy and Commerce Committee to find $880 billion in cuts, right?
That's right. That's one of the
and
committees.
So how did they get
Caitlin,
$880 billion in cuts from that committee without touching Medicaid?
Because ENC has it actually has the broadest jurisdiction of any committee in Congress. It covers everything, energy and commerce. The name indicates how broad the jurisdiction is. I challenge you or anybody on your staff, do a word search for Medicaid on the resolution that we passed last night. You will not find it. That is not part.
Yeah, because Medicaid is a part of the expenditure that the committee that you've tasked with cutting billions of dollars. Okay? This is so stupid. This is so incredibly fucking stupid. Oh, wait, what do you mean? Medicaid is not in the bill. Yeah, no shit, dumbass. That's why Caitlin Collins is saying, yeah, Medicaid is not directly mentioned in the bill, but you have tasked every committee to cut billions of dollars. They have to cut Medicaid in that situation.
part of this equation, okay? We're talking about finding efficiencies in every program, but not cutting benefits for people who rightly deserve that.
That's a little twist of tongue too. People who rightly deserve it. There's people who wrongly are getting far too much Medicaid, you know? We're gonna make sure that those fucking poors are not getting that extra health care that they don't deserve. We're only going after, we're only cutting the people that don't deserve the health care that are getting it.
Work requirements for Medicaid. That is something that is public opinion polls almost 90%. You don't want able-bodied workers on a program that is intended, for example, for single mothers with 2 small children who's just trying to make it. That's what Medicaid is for, not for 29-year-old males sitting on their couches playing video games. We're going to find those guys and we're going to send them back to...
So you are cutting Medicaid. Okay, got it. So you are cutting Medicaid. You're just deciding, who to cut Medicaid for. So it wasn't about waste, fraud, and abuse. Nice. Yeah. Of course, they're going to fucking tack work assignments onto it. It's an idiotic way that they try to do this. You mean Asmongold's audience? Yeah. Yeah, they'll think it's based, though, when Donald Trump says, nah, it's only the Mexicans who are no longer getting any sort of Medicaid. Trust. They'll be like, oh, I don't understand. Why did the federal government cut off my Medicaid? I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm literally beneath the poverty line. That's why I need this fucking, I need this additional aid from the federal government. Why did they do this to me? I thought it was based. I guess you're Mexican now. That's right.
To work. That's what everybody supports. That's what the Republicans are for. And by the way, we find dignity in our work. That's going to be good for everybody.
And I want to follow up on that, but on that Energy and Commerce Committee, the vast majority of funds that they have are Medicare and Medicaid. So when you talk about $880 billion,
that's simply not true.
So where are you cutting from within that committee?
Energy and Commerce's jurisdiction would take us 20 pages.
Yeah, able-bodied adult without dependence is built into Medicaid processing. He's outright lying. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They want to add additional work requirements. Okay, and if you're literally ineligible for work, they will find some bullshit reason. And it's also an incredibly costly endeavor. Other right-wing states have also tried this before. Okay, this failure of a program to add additional work requirements to government-funded health care. What is Medicaid? Medicare is for older people, okay? Your eligibility usually it means that you're above a certain age. You've retired, and that's why you need it, or you're disabled, okay? Medicaid, on the other hand, also works with disabled people as well, but for the most part, Medicaid is like Medicaid eligibility means that you are below a certain level of poverty that you desperately need fucking help from the federal government. Okay? Yeah, it failed. You're talking about, I think it was in Georgia, where 6,400 people signed up and they spent $80 million to create $80 million to create a pilot program to basically force people to do work. And if they couldn't do work, they had to do community service. Okay, if they were disabled, they had to do community service. And it fucking failed. Yes, Medicare, it cares for the elderly. Medicaid, it aids the poor. Exactly. That's a good way to remember it. Right-wing states like Texas have the Obamacare block Medicaid for all provisions for adults without a disability since the OG bill passed. Many right-wing states did not even want the additional federal government funds. They literally refused to allow Medicaid expansion in their states. And then people had to forcibly claw it by voting, by getting it on a fucking ballot measure and then democratically voting for that ballot measure, even though their Republican congresspersons refused and their Republican governors refused to allow Medicaid expansion. It directly caused tens of thousands of people in these red states to die in the process, okay? Because not having access to medical care, not being able to pay for medical care, causes you to not get medical care. And if you don't get medical care, you fucking die. Okay?
To go through, Caitlin, they've got
I'm
almost
talking about
everything
the
in the U.S. economy. There are large pools in the healthcare components, but we're not going to cut benefits for people who are rightfully deserve it. And watch this play out. Just reserve your judgment. The White House has said we're not going to do that. The House Republicans have said we're not going to do that. And Senator Kennedy said, hell no. Okay, so you heard it from the Senate, the House, and the White House. So let's let this play out. We have a long football game to play.
Just let it happen, Caitlin. Just let it happen. Just let it happen. Just let it happen. Shh. Just let it happen. Let me just cut a little bit of Medicaid. Come on. Come on now. Let me just cut a little bit.
Last night was the kickoff of the game. So just watch it play out and you'll see. I think the American people are going to benefit greatly by the package that we're going to produce for them. We are going to deliver the America First agenda, and it's going to be good for everybody. We're going to spur economic growth. We're going to cut regulations. We're going to cut the deep state and their bureaucracy to make government more efficient. We're going to secure the border. We're going to get energy dominance back again for our country that is long overdue. And we're going to spur on the U.S. economy. And by the way, Caitlin, the big drive of all this is to ensure we don't have the largest tax increase in U.S. history at the end of this year, which is what will happen if we don't get this bill passed. I mean,
dog. That is literally because Donald Trump last time around, when he put the tax cuts, I love this. This is fantastic. In 2017, Donald Trump actually pushed for massive tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations. In the process, he also pushed for tax cuts for everyone beneath the top marginal tax rate. Except those tax rates, those tax cuts for regular people like yourself, were set to sunset, as in go back up by 2025. Now, the reason why he did that is because he thought he would be a two-term president, and it would be the Democratic administration's thing to deal with, okay? But of course, he lost the election, and then he had the eligibility to run again, so now he's the president. So now he's watching his own legislation unfold. The tax cuts for the top marginal tax rate, tax bracket, okay, the 1%, are permanent. Tax cuts for corporations are permanent. Tax cuts for the working class are not permanent. So he's over here saying, oh, we're going to see a massive tax hike. We're going to see a massive tax hike. This is terrifying. Terrifying, massive tax hike. Okay? Brother, you put those in place.
Well, Speaker,
the average U.S. taxpayer is going to have a 22% tax hike.
Mr. Speaker, I do appreciate a good football reference, but you just mentioned work requirements and maybe changing that.
See, this is also another incredible battle for a decent, competent Democratic Party, okay? This would be a fantastic opportunity for the Democrats to swing from the fucking fences and talk about how the Republicans love giving tax cuts to the wealthy, and their initiative obviously was slated to sunset those tax cuts that you've enjoyed, those marginal tax cuts that you've enjoyed. Okay, now that's going to go back up. What we should do is reverse the Trump tax cuts and basically, if you want, modestly increase the tax cuts, or modestly increase and negotiate, find a middle ground for the working class while simultaneously greatly increasing the tax rate for the top marginal tax bracket and also the corporations. You swing for, not from the fences, ESL man. Sorry, swing from the fences. Or swing for the fences. I apologize. And it's not like, when are you interviewing a terrorist again? Soon, brother, don't worry. I'll find another person that you consider to be a terrorist to interview. I mean, I'm the terrorist. So technically, every day, I'm doing terrorism. Did you say swing from the fences? Yes. These people are such bots, dude. Don't ban these guys. I want to hear what other wonderful attitudes they have. Yeah, that's right. I'm working on interviewing a doctor from Cuba, which the American government also considers to be terrorists. So don't worry. I got more terrorists. I hate this guy's smug ass smile. I know. He's such a fucking demon, dude. Yeah. Why Global Day of Jihad? Every day is a Global Day of Jihad at this broadcast. Anyway. The American government considers Luigi Mangione to be a terrorist. It would be fucking awesome if I could interview him. I would love the opportunity to interview Luigi Mangione. Perhaps this will help you understand that, just because someone has told you someone else is a fucking terrorist doesn't mean that they actually are. In many instances, maybe they've not even done any harm to others whatsoever, like the random Yemeni teenager, who I did think was Houthi initially, because I don't fucking care. I would interview someone from the Ansar Allah movement. I wouldn't do it on Twitch any longer. I'd most likely do it on YouTube, but I'd do it nonetheless. This is the thing that people don't understand. And they think, oh, he admits it. He's so stupid. They don't understand. I have no issues with that. I don't have a problem interviewing. I do not have a problem interviewing militants, okay? Now, the interview might be different in terms of the attitude, in terms of the vibes overall. Why would you not on Kick? Why the fuck would I ever go to that platform? Anyway.
Will you reduce the federal match or try to establish?
Yeah, I would interview Donald Trump too if I had the opportunity. Yeah, it's really funny when people go, dude, I can't believe Hassan interviewed a terrorist. Meanwhile, they literally have a dude who chopped heads off running the current Syrian government. And that motherfucker's going on podcasts like he's a former Al-Qaeda guy. He used to chop people's heads off, dude. Now he looks like Zelensky and is going and talking about how important institutions are. So fuck. Anyway.
A cap on federal funding as you sort through this for Medicaid?
No, I just explained. Per capita caps is off the table. The FMAPs, we're not going to cut into those programs that way. What we are going to do is present this large tax increase. You realize if we don't pass this bill, small businesses, 26 million businesses in this country, their tax rates are going to go up to 43% overnight if we don't get this bill passed. So we have no margin for error. We have to get this done, and we will. We're going to deliver on this mission for the American people.
Yeah, I was just asking because, as you know, your home state of Louisiana, about 80% of the Medicaid spending there is covered by the federal government. We've seen it in a lot of red states, of course, across the United States. It's not just a blue state issue. As you have seen through this, and we've seen the blowback that some Republicans in your caucus that are getting when they go back home to their districts, worried about these cuts or worried about what DOJ is doing. Do you have concerns that that's anything that Democrats will be able to use to run against?
Sky News and AP both interviewed the Yemeni teen as well, but we're supposed to believe because you interview him that is a crime against humanity? Yes, but it doesn't matter. They're also saying that I interviewed him by glazing him, which I did. I did glaze him. Okay? I did. He's not a part of the Ansar Allah movement. I asked him about whether or not he was anti-Semitic. This person had no reason to lie. I've addressed this a million fucking times over. Okay? And also, both of those places, both of those outlets literally said that he is not a part of the Houthi movement. Okay? It is probably one of the most idiotic things that people still chirp about. Where they're like, he glazed a terrorist. See how brown this kid is? See how Muslim this kid is, dude? How dare he? Suck my dick. Even fucking Fox News admitted that he wasn't a terrorist. He was not a part of the Ansar Allah movement. Weird, once you realized he wasn't a combatant, you treated him like a teenager, which is what he was at the time. Yeah, also, even if he was directly a fucking, even if he was directly a combatant, okay, I still think that there is importance to interview these people, okay? It just doesn't really matter. I mean, the direction of the interview would be different, especially if he was like, nah, I fucking hate Jews or some shit like that. Obviously, then it would definitely, the direction of the interview would change. He seemed media trained, to be honest. I thought so too at the time, but I think it's a fucking stupid thing to make an assertion over, especially when you think about it for a brief moment and realize the conditions in Yemen, you know? I thought so too at the time. And then I realized, yeah, I don't think he's fucking media trained. There's already, like he's a 19-year-old from Yemen. Fuck it. Say we cancel Vice for doing the ISIS documentary. Dude, Hind Hassan and Laila literally interviewed Yahya Sinwar and were responsible for the last ever Western media interview that Yahya Sinwar gave before Israel killed him. Okay? The fuck are we talking about? Like, get out of here. That was an incredible interview, by the way. It was an incredible get. That's real journalism. They were in the fucking Gaza Strip. ISIS isn't even comparable. Yeah, that's the other side. Like, it's fucking ridiculous to make this comparison to ISIS. It's just, you're a gross Islamophobic piece of shit when you make those assertions. A movement with a banner, don't care about media. Yeah, exactly. They're fucking, the Ansar Allah movement's banner literally says a curse upon the Jews, okay? Now, obviously, Norm Finkelstein has talked about this extensively. I've also talked about this as well, about like what on that part of the world, like what they associate with. Like, this is also a point of contention right now with a BBC interview where they were saying, oh, you guys like changed the translation of the person saying Yahud to Zionist. It's like fucked up. Okay. Yeah. Colloquially, because Israel uses Judaism both as a defense mechanism here in the Western world, but also as an offensive mechanism over there, Israel is not seen as a marginalized group of people that are constantly fucking under attack, understandably. Why the fuck would anybody else feel that way? It's literally the same as saying that from their perspective, they see the Star of David being carved onto the fucking face of a prisoner. They're not making this distinguishing factor where they're like, well, maybe some Jews are not firmly committed to doing a genocide. Of course they think that. It's not correct. They're also crying that BBC translated jihad, the struggle. Oh yeah, there was that too. Listen, they're going to make Medicaid nearly impossible. There you go. Actually addressing it. Dog, I'm sorry. If you think this is the first time I've ever addressed this, you are funny. Do you know how many fucking times I've talked about this? And not just to like directly respond to shitters either, like straight up. Anyway.
Against those Republicans.
No, because no, I don't. Because the videos you saw of the town halls were for paid protesters in many of those places. These are Democrats who went to the events early and filled up the seats. If the videos had panned outside the building,
you can't argue they were all paid protesters, though, Mr. Speaker.
I don't know.
A Republican acknowledged they were his constituents.
One Republican acknowledged they were his constituents. That's fantastic. Okay, but they had Democrats come and fill the seats early.
Oh, they were paid protesters. You got it.
This is an old playbook that they pulled out and ran, and it made it look like that
I wish the Democrats were that equipped, dude. Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine the Democratic Party actually getting together to like, create some kind of popular resistance, mount some kind of popular resistance against Republicans at town halls. Okay, they're too busy yelling at their own advocacy groups right now, saying, "Why are you yelling at us? Go yell at the Republicans."
What's happening in Washington is unpopular, but I'm going to tell you, Caitlin, the American people are behind what's happening. The DOGE efforts is polling over 80% right now. They want us to find efficiencies in the federal government. They want the government to be smaller and leaner and more accountable to the taxpayers, and that's what these efforts are all about. That's what the Republican Party is about. That's what our commitment is to do, to make government work better for the people. This is a restoration of common sense above everything else, and I think the American people are going to remain in favor of what's happening here.
Okay, those lawmakers do also represent Democrats. That doesn't mean they were paid to show up if they're upset about this. But I want to move on because just to get on what you are trying to do overall here, I know you're used to difficult tasks. You've had a small majority. You survived a threat to your speakership. But a question that a lot of people have is how you are going to balance the budget without touching Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid while also increasing defense spending, which is what the White House laid out today.
Yeah, well, look, part of the equation is all the new revenue that the President Trump and the administration are delivering for the American people. Look, the tariffs are estimated, just the tariff on China, the 10% import tax on China, and of course they've been fleecing us for a long time as an unfair trade partner. That alone is going to yield $600 billion over 10 years in new revenue to the government. The DOGE savings. Elon Musk has said that he can find close to $1 trillion in fraud, waste, and abuse. I was with him late last night in his office, going through what he's doing. This is very real. We're going to have new revenue and savings that we have never had before. The gold card that President Trump announced yesterday, I mean, that could bring in...
That's the other... Bro, there is already a visa structure. It was just cheaper, okay? It was $1 million. Now it's $5 million, okay? The notion that this new gold card is going to bring so much revenue into our coffers is idiotic, unless they're just giving it to every oligarch. Okay. And even then, there's not that many oligarchs out there. So I doubt that they would be able to fucking get. Donald Trump said they would bring in 10 million people into the United States of America. Okay. If we got 10 million people to pay $5 million to become American citizens, think about how much money we'd have. What happened to the America First races, by the way? That's also funny. Yeah. How do they feel about that? Anyone with 5 million liquid dollars will use to hire an immigration attorney and get a visa for much less than $5 million. To call this stupid is to insult stupidity. They are assuming correctly that most rich people are white. No. First of all, most rich people are not white. What are you talking about? First of all, why the fuck would a rich white person come to America? Okay? Where are the white people? They're in fucking Europe. They're in Russia, if you consider them white. I guess, like, some people don't. But what fucking Norwegian millionaire is like, oh man, I was really excited to come to America. Let me spend $5 million on it. Are you insane? No, the people that want to come to America that are that rich are not going to be coming from white nations, okay? They already have different places to go. They can go to Monaco. They can go to fucking Zurich. Yeah. No, it's going to be the whitest people that are going to get an American citizenship are going to be coming from Russia. That's it. And even then, there's not that many super wealthy people to spend $5 million on a gold card. It's going to be Gulf nation, royal family members. It is going to be, cartel overlords. It'll be people coming from, ironically, Latin America, India, maybe China, probably China. A lot of millionaires in China. It's so funny that Americans think that it's going to be like Norwegian multimillionaires that are like, oh, I'm so excited to come to America. Yeah, it's mostly going to be Chinese. He said companies will use it to get the people to bring them over. Yeah, that's fucking moronic. What company is spending $5 million on one singular employee? Are you insane? The H-1B visa process already works. Significantly cheaper than that. Yeah. Dude, do you understand how anything works? If there was unique talent, okay? If there was that much talent out there, sports leagues, great example, okay? You fucking think that anyone would spend $5 million to get, like, I don't know, the next LeBron James from a Balkan state? No, they would already have reason to get a separate visa. There is a separate visa for that. Exceptionally talented people get a different visa for that. You think Wemby has to pay $5 million, or his team has to give him, or his team has to pay the American government $5 million to bring Wemby in to play at the fucking NBA? Are you stupid? Yes. It's called the O1 visa. Individuals with extraordinary ability or achievement. Yeah. Filing for an H-1B is $780. You get fined $4,000 if you're a company that already has a lot of them. Who is stupid enough to pay $5 million? Yeah. You know why we have so many different visa avenues, by the way? Because America, I can't believe I'm going to bring forth this truism. America's a nation of immigrants. We've always been a nation of immigrants, both undocumented and documented. When I was a talent manager, I got an O1 for a mid DJ. You're right. It's incredibly easy. Exactly. It's so fucking stupid. Worldwide taxation, exit tax, estate tax, gift tax, foreign accounts registration, foreign business interest registration, etc. are also reasons why very few of these will be sold. Yeah. Was that a Biden sound clip? No, I was doing my Brandon, though. My best Brandon.
That could bring in hundreds of billions of dollars. So we'll see how all this plays out over the months ahead as the budget and the spending habits of Washington change and the efficiency of Washington changes. I think the American people are going to like what they see.
Yeah,
and you got to wait and see how all this balances out.
And we will. None of that.
Damn, it's almost like this law is just fucking stupid and it's just there to justify mass deportation, but the slop tubers told me it's good, so probably not. Yeah, I've decided I'm only learning politics from slop tubers who don't know their fucking ass from their elbow, who don't know anything. They barely are functional human beings. But hey, guys who basically fucking look at Reddit posts to make a comprehensive drama YouTube video without any investigation whatsoever will tell you all about the fucking many benefits. I like that people immediately, when I say this, start saying their favorite slop tuber. Like, I'm not even talking about Asmongold here. Like, literally, there are so many people that you think I'm referring to in this instance. No, it's not Moist Critical. Guess what? Moist Critical knows more about the immigration process because he's been dicked by the immigration process as a esports team owner. Ironically.
That's guaranteed. We'll see what those numbers look like. Did Elon Musk approve of the blueprint that you passed last night? Did he think there were enough spending cuts in there?
Well, we haven't gotten to that yet. These are numbers, a floor, at least $1.5 trillion in savings that we're going to find, and trying to get higher, maybe $2 trillion or higher.
If a company fights me over $10 on overtime, who's going to spend $5 million amount? Yeah.
Start. Look, you don't turn an aircraft carrier on a dime. It takes miles of open ocean to turn an aircraft carrier. That's what the U.S. economy is. It took decades to get into this situation, but we are going to begin to bend that curve, and it's a great thing for the country.
I was just curious, since you met with him after this happened. Speaking of, deadlines that are a lot sooner than what you're talking about, there's a shutdown deadline that is looming on March 14th, which you well know. Do you think Congress is going to end up passing another continuing resolution then?
Well, look, I wish we didn't have to, but it looks like the Democrats are trying to push us into that. They've added these really crazy conditions onto the negotiation over the last week or so. They've added a condition that says we have to tie the hands of President Trump, that the legislative branch they want us to dictate to the executive branch, for example, a base number of employees for each agency in the executive branch. I don't even think it's constitutional what they're requiring, but it's certainly an absurd notion. But they're standing by that. So
CR go, do you believe?
Well, we haven't negotiated that yet, but if it's a CR, it may be an entire year-long CR with some anomalies on it. You know how all this works. But it's not what we prefer. We would like to do individual appropriations bills, but it takes both parties to negotiate that. And right now, the Democrats are trying to, it looks like, trying to set up a government shutdown. We can't allow that to happen.
For all the glad-handing platitudes.
Andrew Tate returns to the U.S. with brother after travel ban is lifted. Okay? Speaking of the dumbass that we were just looking at earlier, Michael Penis, Speaker of the House, enough is enough. Pro-Hamas mobs have no place on our college campuses. Barnard College and Columbia University must put an end to the anti-Semitic chaos on campus. Okay? Yeah, pro-Hamas. American college students protesting ridiculous expulsions in an Ivy League institution of other American college students who did the most unthinkable thing of all time, which is hurt the feelings of the genocidal apartheid state of Israel. Okay? Are we pro-Hamas or just pro-Palestine? This right here is a fantastic question, chatter. It does not matter. The point is not that they are, the point isn't that these students are like, we love Hamas, we love October 7, we want October 7 to happen. Even then, okay, that is not the point. They're saying everyone is pro-Hamas. They're saying Hamas is bad, it's a terrorist group, everyone is pro-Hamas. All Palestinians are Hamas when they're doing a genocide. Everyone that defends Palestinians are also Hamas. The entire fucking point of this is literally to say you are not allowed to protest against Israel. You are not allowed to be pro-emancipation. You are not allowed to say you are anti-apartheid. You are not allowed to say you are anti-genocide. Okay? That's it. That's it. The point of this is not to like gut out the people who are pro-terrorism. Like, also, what the fuck? What do you mean? What is, let's say someone is pro-fucking ISIS even, okay? Let's say someone is pro-Nazi Germany, okay? And plenty of them are, in the Republican Party especially, okay? In the previous administration, the previous Trump administration, not only did they advocate for Nazis to fucking come to college campuses and harm the actual students, they would have gone crazy if you actually fucking deported, or not deported, but expelled a pro-Nazi student. Do you really believe that these people give a fuck about anti-Semitism? That's it. They're using Hamas's terrorism designation, okay, to say everyone and anyone that is anti-Israel is deportable or is prosecutable. And for the record, make no mistake, they're also moving in this direction already. It doesn't just extend to Colombia. Here's the Newsmax article. DOJ Anti-Semitism Task Force will put Hamas supporters in jail for years. When protesters face jail time, it will stop, said the official. When you see universities start losing millions of dollars in federal funding, you're going to see a change in their behavior. When you see court orders protecting Jewish students, visas of anti-Semitic students being revoked, you will see a major change, he added, announcing a tour of 10 universities accused of harming Jewish students and allowing harassment. Okay? That's it. And for the record, just make no mistake, and I'm saying this very clearly, this is exactly what the fuck Ethan is doing as well. Okay? That is exactly what Ethan is doing as well. And the only difference, and this was shared, I saw, because when I go on my subreddit, I still see the H3H3 Productions post. This was shared in the H3H3 Productions subreddit, Ethan's own subreddit, of his former co-host's Twitter post saying, America First Party is threatening to put people in jail for hurting Israel's feelings. Lamau, fuck this country, man. And his fucking fan base of supposedly progressive people were actually excited at the prospect of someone like myself going to fucking prison under the Trump administration. Amazing. I don't know if they've deleted it. I screenshotted it when I saw it. They might have been a little embarrassed about how fucking riled up people got under the post. Just normal social democrat things. Yeah. Their top post in their sub is pretending you can't go to Gaza because Palestinians will harm you, not Israel. Oh, I can tell you, it is not the Palestinians that would harm me. It is 100% Israel. Okay? That is the only reason. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway. Mods removed that post with the following comment. Hi, thank you for your post. We did, however, remove it as it comes too close to agreeing with Trump's policy, which does not represent us as a community. We need to be careful about what we project into the world. It's important to maintain our support for Palestine while opposing Trump's continued slide into fascism. Thanks for understanding. Cheers. Oh, nice. I think they would cheer if he got killed. I don't know about that. But yeah, no, I saw the fucking comments instantly under it. Hold on. Where is it? Yeah. What are you afraid of, Hassan? Says Lexi Nope. 3 awards instantly in 20 fucking minutes. Look, hold on. I wonder if it's being brigaded by a very active Reddit community. That community is being brigaded by a very active Reddit community. 3 awards on it. Bro, I can't see shit. Okay, well, it doesn't fucking focus, man. Shut up. I don't know how to do it, okay? I guess I could send it to myself and then show it here. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah. You're the biggest online anti-genocide, anti-Zionist voice. If you don't think they would have no, it's not even just me, chatters. It's not me. I'm not saying I'm some fucking special person. Okay? I'm saying that anyone and everyone that is doing any kind of journalism that Israel doesn't like is directly in the crosshairs, as Israel has demonstrated time and time again that they are willing to kill journalists. The fuck are we talking about? Or really anyone that is anti-Israel within the crosshairs of an IDF soldier, including Americans. I mean, they've killed aid workers, man. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Damn, this guy's good.